starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Yo, 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 oi, oi, oi. Hello and welcome in to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm your host for the next 2 hours, Reed Mouse. The boss man will be back tomorrow. I'm giving him some requited time off. I saw it, and literally I sent him a text last night. I jumped into the post-game Red show, and I said, hey, man, you need some time off? You want me to host the show tomorrow? And he said, yes, I would love that. So I'm giving the boss some time on. Hey, I even put on my best. I put on a polo. I did wear a watch today. You know why, Elliot?
Why's that?
Because it's my time. Because it's my time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm taking off the watch now that I got through the joke. Elliot Rearing, Casey McCollister in the room today, or as I call them, Ellie Roo, Casey Roo. We have a full show for you today. We will touch on the Reds' loss. I'll tell you why I'm not stressing over the first-round pick on Thursday for the Cincinnati Bengals, and why I might even be bold to move back. We have some bold predictions for the draft and just general, I think are interesting. Will mostly revolve around the draft. That's most of what the talk will be today and where quarterbacks will go. But there is something I want to talk about as I start off every show with my monologue. And yes, it is about the Cincinnati Reds. And I swear, guys, and Molly and girls and RM, no, I'm not going to do my typical Reds troll thing. I'm really not doing that right now. I swear to God. Like, I promise. This might seem a tad preachy. It really might. And perhaps it is. But I'll remind you, just as I do every time I talk about the Cincinnati Reds, that everyone I like, love, and respect are Cincinnati Reds fans. Everyone I love are Reds fans. I get on Twitter, right? And I see this constant bickering between two factions of Reds fans, two sects of Reds fans. Employees here at Chatterbox fall into both camps. And I've come to the conclusion, which still has time to change, and I pray I'm wrong, but that is whatever journey, wherever this Reds season, this current iteration of the Reds is going to go, whatever you're about to embark on, whatever train this legs team is about to get you on, you're not going to have a good time doing it because you're constantly at each other's necks. I'm trying to be as truthful as I can. Every time something good happens for the Reds, instead of just celebrating it, instead of saying, hey, this is a great thing that's going on, it's everyone trying to get over on one another, other Reds fans. I sent this tweet out yesterday, and I mean it, that the fan base that the Cincinnati Reds fans hate the most, and I truly believe this, isn't Cubs fans, me, isn't Cardinals fans, Pirates fans, Brewers fans, it's other Reds fans. Ellie De La Cruz has a fantastic game. And instead of going, oh my God, this dude is a number one prospect, he might be the most talented player in the game, and instead of just realizing that and celebrating that, someone has to go, oh, all those Ellie detractors sure are quiet now. Jonathan India has a good game. All the big Jonathan India stands go, oh, remember when all these other Reds fans didn't want him on the team? You're sure glad that he's with them now. Why do you guys do this? Other fan bases don't do this. Instead of focusing on outward things, you guys are constantly bickering at one another. And wherever you guys go, whatever, fun things, wherever you're going with this journey, it won't be fun if you guys constantly tear each other down. Once again, I'm being preachy. I know I'm on a soapbox. I get it. But I'm somewhat concerned that what should be a fun, enjoyable thing, fandom, sports, your beloved Cincinnati Reds, is turning into a laborious chore. It's turning into constant bickering. It's turning into constant fighting within. It's just not sustainable. You keep doing this civil war. You keep doing this cannibalistic behavior. How are you going to enjoy this? It literally will heavily detract from whatever you guys are about to do. And have you ever thought about what fandom is at its core? At its core, what fandom is a group of people who, for whatever reason, have decided to like a similar team. Whether you inherited it, whether it be from where you're from, whether you just liked King Griffey Jr. growing up. Whatever the reason is, you've decided, hey, I'm going to put some of my enjoyment, some of my life, some of my effort, time, and energy rooting for this fan base. We're rooting for this team. And the reason you do that is to celebrate it with people in your fan base, not to bicker with them. I don't know if you guys need a villain. I'll be the villain. I did that last year. I'm kind of doing it right now. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to be honest with you guys. Just get along. Just get along. It'll be a lot more fun in the long run. It truly will. Just get along. Ellie Rue, as someone who constantly fights with somebody, and I'm sure the chat's loving this. I'm sure they're just eating it up. As someone who partakes in the bickering, as someone who partakes in the fighting, have you ever thought just, hey, let's just bygones be bygones?
No, and here's the thing. You are right. It is pretty insane that I would say there's a pretty even split, 50-50. Half the fan base is negative because the Reds, again, historically, when I say historically, I mean since the year 2000, have been one of the worst franchises in the sport. That's objective. That's not my opinion. That's objective. And then they recognize it and they're like, okay, I want wins. I want it now. I want it right now. And every single year that we don't win is a failure. And every player who doesn't hit 4 for 4 every night, that's a failure. And they live in that mindset. That's the most negative side of Reds Twitter. Then there's the most positive side. A guy's 0 for his last 50, but he's young. He's special. He's a special talent. In 15 years, he's going to be the world's biggest superstar. And you're going to keep going on that path. The Reds are fine. If you lose 5 in a row, you're fine. Nothing's wrong. It's early. It's 162. You're not built for 162, they say to me. And then I try to find somewhere in the middle. Now I've started to just troll. I've started to fully troll. Last night I found a very funny meme and I tweeted it. I thought it was really good. It was basically the fans who want Hunter Greene to go further in games, which obviously everybody wants. But I was just picking on the people who, after his last start, says it's unacceptable giving up 1 run in 4 innings. Unacceptable. But you want him to go longer. He gave up 4 runs, and you're still not happy. He went 7 innings, gave up 4 runs. You're still not happy. So either way, there's no pleasing anybody. And we all live in misery. That's what it is to be a Cincinnati sports fan. We've had misery for the better part of 25 years. So, everybody can fan how they want to fan, as Trace would like to say. I think every fan base does it. I think there's.
I don't. Listen. We'll look at Cincinnati, right? Because there's a lot of overlap between Reds fans and Bengals fans. I obviously sit in the Bengals camp. Yes, there's bickering. Yes, like the Joe Mixon stuff is very divisive for Cincinnati Bengals fans. But at the end of the day, like it's not 2016 Marvel's Captain America Civil War. There's a little bickering, but if Zach Moss goes out and scores 2 touchdowns, we're not going to be there. The people that were pro Zach Moss aren't going to say, "Aren't you glad we didn't keep Joe Mixon around?" No.
Yeah, it is getting tired.
That's not what's going to happen, and that's what both sides do. I don't know where it started. If I had to guess the etymology of it, 1, it has to come with not a whole lot of success. 2, it comes with social media being a drag. I think it's more fun than it is a drag. I think people overhype the drag, but it is a drag at times. But I think, like, positive Reds Twitter got a little jaded from back in 2021 when the Reds trade everyone off, right?
Correct. That was the break. That was the line in the sand.
And what happened is all these negative Reds fans are like, what the hell's going on? I hate the ownership group. This sucks. Everything sucks. And the positive fans were like, hey, listen, we were kind of middling with this current team. There wasn't a whole lot of bright spot at the end of this. let's try again. And now we are 3 years later, and that try again, unlike what happened 10 years ago when they broke everything down, Todd Frazier, Johnny Cueto, there is almost immediate gratification. There's almost immediate success from those trades. And you're seeing positive fans go, I told you so. Everyone was telling me I'm an idiot when I was being positive 3 years ago. Now we're starting to see some typical things. And meanwhile, the negative fans are trying to get back at them. And it's just constant back and forth. Like I said, there shouldn't be a negative discourse around Elly De La Cruz stealing 3 bases a game and hitting a home run. But there is. There shouldn't be a negative discourse every time that Hunter Greene shoves for 6 innings. There shouldn't be a negative discourse every time that former Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India, comes up in a big way. But there is, and I don't understand it. Like I said, I fall into 2 camps when it comes to my fandom. Obviously, the Chicago Cubs, I don't have a whole lot of connections there. I don't have a whole lot of people I can talk to, but I get on Twitter, I'm on social media, follow all the accounts, and more often than not, it's on the same side of things. I go to Bengals, yeah, there's a little bit of discourse. Yeah, there's a little bit of, hey, I don't like this, or hey, I don't like this. But at the end of the day, you look up at the scoreboard and the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 31-14, and we're not doing a gotcha journalism thing. We're not doing a, I was right, you were wrong, fellow Bengals fan, but that's what happens with the Cincinnati Reds, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I know it's preachy. I know I'm on my soapbox. But I'm just telling you that the point of this all, the whole point of sports, the whole point of fandom is to create a community that you can enjoy together. That's the point of human beings. That's why you live in cities. That's why you go to church. That's why you do all these things. You play hobbies. You play golf. You play slow pitch softball. You do all these things to have fun together with other human beings. And fandom's supposed to be one of those things, but instead, you're doing gotcha. I'm smarter than you. I know better than you. How much fun is that? It's not. It's not. Just don't let each other drag you down. Just take the positive things. And you're supposed to grieve together. You're supposed to celebrate together. And at this moment, you're doing opposites. One side's grieving, one side's celebrating. Do it together. That's all I'm saying. Get along. Get along. Is that hard?
No, yeah, I think, again, I think it will take a Bengals type of run with this team to do it. That's because that's really what solved it for the Bengals, right? Joe Burrow got drafted, and everybody's, that was the turning point. But there was still some divide. When will the Bengals be good? I still have my doubts. And then you go on a Super Bowl run, and it's like, okay, all that's gone now.
Yeah.
Now it's all focused on that. So if the Reds were somehow able to get on an NLCS type of run this season, I do think that the negative side of it will quiet down.
Okay.
And you were right. The 2021
the 12-game win streak was mostly positive vibes.
Correct. I would say you need postseason success. That's going to be the difference maker. That's going to be the big change. The 2021 trading spree, that broke everyone's brain. It did. It broke everybody's brain. You had half the fan base saying the Castellanos were doing the right thing. Half the fan base says the Castellanos are doing the wrong thing. And it wasn't good. It was followed by a couple comments that shouldn't have been made by Phil Castellini, which is fair. I think those were disgraceful comments. But yeah, I think that was really the moment. Because up until then, the Reds had not been very good, but still the Castellanos were given the benefit of the doubt. The Reds were given the benefit of the doubt. The fan base was, I would say, mostly somewhat outside of Facebook Reds, shout out. Outside of that genre of Reds fan, I would say it was mostly positive. It was a mostly positive place, even through all the negativity. But then there was a breaking point, and it broke, and we're still trying to tape up the pieces. And that's where we are right now.
2 things I'll say before we go into our first break. And the one thing I'll say is, and I'll say this for negative Reds fans and negative Reds fans alone. You're not mad at the current ownership group for not spending money. What you should be mad at them, the reason that the Reds haven't had a whole lot of success isn't because they aren't spending $300 million contracts. It isn't because they're constantly going out and they're not constantly going out and getting big-time free agents. The reason that you should be upset with them is the incompetence on developing and grooming players. Both times, look across the board in Major League Baseball. Teams that succeed at a high level constantly have development amongst their own. You can look at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yeah, they just spent $1 billion this offseason. But they still bring up Rookie of the Year caliber guys seemingly every year. They turn guys like Max Muncy and Jason Hayward into viable starters. Other teams don't do that. The Houston Astros had that development of Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and then added on top of it. The Chicago Cubs did the same when they won. The Boston Red Sox, who I think is the best team of this century, the 2018 Boston Red Sox, they did that. That's why you should be mad at the Reds' current ownership group, is because that they haven't been able to develop players. We do have breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Can someone give me a breaking news sound?
Oh,
Never mind. Never mind. It's not breaking news. People were saying Kirby had a girl. Kirby had a baby.
Oh, no, you didn't have a baby yet. You got pranked?
What kind of a prank is that? I thought we were adding to the Chatterbox Collective, and here we are. People are just pulling my leg. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have headlines, what has happened in the world of sports. A lot of postseason pro ball yesterday. So, Ellie Root. We're back on Wing. 1410 Wing AM. There we go.
Now we are back. Welcome back into 1410 Wing AM.
Yeesh.
It takes a little bit of work on that.
Yeesh.
It takes a little bit of work on the little intros and outro cues. Not a lot of people know that. You gotta focus in on them. But that was good. That was good for your first attempt. That was good.
Yeesh.
There were a lot of. Okay, so they are still saying he has a baby. Why are they still saying he has a baby?
I mean, Kirby literally said no baby yet.
So I don't know what everybody's talking about the baby. Somebody spread misinformation. Michael Ackley, was I on the radio before? Yes, I was. Again, for those listening on the radio, we are also on YouTube. And when we start naming random people, these are our chatters. These are our people who are in our chat every single day on YouTube, and you can do so too if you so feel the need to. But this is for everybody. A lot of big sports yesterday. Not just a little bit of sports, a lot of big sports and a lot of big moments yesterday. I'll start with the Reds. We already talked about it, and we'll talk about it more, but I'll give a little bit of a recap for any of those who did not get to watch the Reds game last night or listen to it. The Reds got blanked by 7-0 by the Phillies. I'll get through it eventually. In game one of this 4-game set, Hunter Greene was solid. Went 7 innings, striking out 6. He gave up 4 earned runs. Ranger Suarez, lefty, gave up 2 hits in his 7 innings of work, striking out 5. I knew it was going to happen, but shout out to Ranger Suarez. Nick Castellanos. We slandered his name on yesterday's show. He went 2 for 4 last night. I knew it was going to happen. You just knew it was going to happen. Leadoff Fairchild and CES were the only ones with hits, and I'll talk about Leadoff Fairchild here in a second. Andrew Abbott has a 2.7 ERA. He will be going up against Christopher Sanchez tonight at 6:40, who has a 2.95 ERA. We'll see you there. And Nick Kirby and Trace will be there for Chatterbox Reds in the 9th inning. Around the league, the Giants, they beat the Mets 5-2. Orioles, they add on to the Angels' losing streak. They won 4-2. Padres, they beat the Rockies in Colorado 3-1. The Rockies, shout out to them, they are now 1 of their last 9. The St. Louis Cardinals, they walked off the Diamondbacks, unfortunately for the Reds, on a Nolan Gorman 2-run shot in the bottom of the 9th. The White Sox, this is my funnest, funnest isn't a word, this is my most fun stat of the day. The White Sox got shut out yet again, losing to the Twins 7-0. That is their third 7-0 loss of the season. They are the first team in MLB history to be shut out 8 times in their first 22 games. Here's another one. The Atlanta Braves since last season have been shut out 3 times.
I think I saw that the Braves have been shut out 7 times in the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, so since the start of last season, the Atlanta Braves have been shut out twice. Since the start of last week, the White Sox have been shut out 3 times. Just an absolute abomination Reinsdorf's got going on in Chicago. Shout out, though. Pirates, They win 4-2 over the Brewers. Brewers pitcher Jacob Junis, I think that's how I say that. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Eunice. He was hit in the neck with a ball during batting practice, sent to the hospital immediately. Not great. The Athletics, they blanked the Yankees 2-0. Pretty nonchalant game. I will say something outrageous happened in that game. We will discuss that at length at some point during the show because it's absolutely preposterous that Rob Manfred allows this. But he has to. NBA, Cavaliers beat the Magic 96-86. They lead the series 2-0. Jalen Suggs, he unfortunately suffered a leg injury in the loss. And Donovan Mitchell led the Cavs with 23 points, added 8 boards as well. That was really the worst game of the slate last night because the Knicks were down 5 points with 30 seconds left. They won the game. They stole the ball in the inbound pass. Nick Nurse tried to call a timeout, head coach of the Sixers. Tried to call a timeout, was given the sign, was ignored. Was ignored completely. Knicks retained possession, get the ball, give it to Dante DiVincenzo for the 3. Game winner. Mike Greene with a double bang call. It was absolutely spectacular, and the Knicks appear to be on fire. So shout out there. The Tyrese Maxey.
Villanova once again doing well at Madison Square Garden.
Tyrese Maxey, he tried his best, scoring 35 points. He had 10 assists and 9 rebounds. He was 1 rebound short of the triple-double. Embiid finished with 34. Brunson, another night where he didn't really shoot well. Didn't matter. Knicks still win. He went 8 for 29 from the field, but it was enough. Lakers, they were up against the Nuggets last night. They were up big against the Nuggets last night yet again, and they choked it away yet again. They can't beat Jokic. They can't do it. Jamal Murray hit the game-winning buzzer beater to win 101-99. Shout out to the Nuggets. Anthony Davis, had 32 points and 11 rebounds. LeBron James was 2 rebounds shy of a 26-point triple-double, and Jokic had 27 points, 10 assists, and 20 rebounds. Murray added 20 points as well. So the Nuggets take the lead.
Nuggets are really good.
Nuggets are on fire.
Yeah, I mean they're by far the best team I think in the NBA.
Yeah, I usually don't watch NBA. I watched it last night for that game, and that was phenomenal. NHL, one New York team lives, and they succeed in the postseason, and that means another one has to die. The Islanders were up 3-0 yesterday. They were up 3-1 heading into the third period. The Hurricanes scored 2 goals in 9 seconds. 2 goals in 9 seconds to tie it and then take the lead 4-3. They'd go on to win 5-3. That's 4 third-period goals for the Hurricanes. They lead 2-0 in the series, and that's got to be just the worst loss of all time. Shout out them. Golden Knights, they take a 1-0 series lead. They won 4-3 over our Dallas Stars.
Yeah, it was tough. They were down 3-0.
Yeah.
And came all the way back and lost. So it's why even come back?
I saw our favorite player, Jamie Benn, had a really good goal. It was like
Jamie Benn?
Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah.
Is it not Bren?
It's Ben. That's my jersey. I have a Jamie Benn jersey.
So Jamie Benn, I thought
his name was
Jaime. I think he scored in a span of like 2 seconds after the puck dropped. It was really cool. The Golden Knights, they take a 1-0 series lead, winning 4-3 over our. We already said that over our Stars. Maple Leafs even the series with the Bruins winning 3-2, and Oilers beat the Kings 7-4. They're up 1-0 in their series. So shout out to that night in sports. It was a great night.
It was
outside of the Reds. It was a phenomenal night. But that's just that's just one of those things I have to deal with.
Can I as we do the headlines, I saw someone on X talk about how LeBron's loss just cemented MJ as the GOAT, and she's like, why are we doing this?
I love that debate.
Hey, you know what? I really don't partake in that debate because I have watched 0 games. I've watched exactly 0 games of Michael Jordan play basketball. I have watched 10, 15 games, literally ever, of LeBron play. I just don't watch the NBA. So who am I to come in here and have an opinion on who's better, who's not? I will admit that what LeBron's doing in year 21 is pretty incredible, and him losing to the best team in the league in year 21 as a play-in team doesn't make him not viable as the GOAT, but it's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. By the way, we have some NFL news. Casey broke this right before the show started. Jake Browning will be a Bengal for a little bit longer, 2 years.
Should we hiss?
Jake the Snake. Jake the Snake. And Zach Wilson, he will be heading to the Broncos.
That's a weird move. I don't know. Maybe Zach.
I don't want to spoil the segment later, but I have a buy or sell regarding the Broncos. That's very funny. Okay. That's very funny. So I won't spoil it. But Zach Wilson, congratulations to the Broncos. That was a big find for them.
This is where drafting quarterbacks gets dangerous, right? I mean, obviously the reason you do it is because once you find the quarterback, the rest of winning in the NFL becomes a lot easier. So you go up there, you take Zach Wilson with the 2nd overall pick, and then 3 years later you're trading him away for a 6th and a 7th while also paying his contract. Not good. Listen, it is what it is. It's the game we played. Once again, the reason you do that, the reason that you always go and try to get the quarterback is because teams know once you get it right, it becomes a lot easier to win. Now on the back end, you get it wrong, can set you back for a while, a la New York Jets, who might be okay this year with Aaron Rodgers, a la the New York Giants. They pay a guy $50 million that doesn't deserve it. A la go on and go on and go on and go on. You draft the wrong guy, sits you back for a little while. Chicago Bears, Mitch Trubisky. They won some games with Mitch Trubisky. Justin Fields. Didn't take me too long to get in that one. But it is what it is. When you get to the NFL, everyone knows this. As much as we want to talk about how it's a team sport, you get a quarterback, it makes the whole thing a lot easier. You get a good coach, you get a quarterback, you're going to win a lot of games. Just is what it is.
Yeah, it is. By the way, I wanted to talk about the Reds for a little bit too, if that's okay. Casey, you watched the game last night, I presume?
Let's go to break, and when we come back from break, we will talk about the Reds' 7-0 loss at home to the Phillies of Philadelphia. So we'll be right back. You're listening to Off the Bench. You're back on 1410 Wing AM, your home for sports.
We'll get
in the
used
Miami
to it.
Valley.
You just got to shake it off.
Warming up.
You just got to shake it off.
I'm Reem Mouse. The Cincinnati Reds lost 7-0 Elliott Rearing yesterday. Hunter Greene did go 7 innings, but they only managed, though the real story of the game was only 2 hits. So this is my take on yesterday's Reds loss, and this is a take that I have about a lot of Major League Baseball games. When you look at the season, you play 162 games, right? Every team, or 28 out of the 30 teams, are going to win 60 games. They're going to lose 60 games. It's what you do in those 42 extra games that you have, right? Yeah, there's a team that can win 100 games. Yeah, there's a team that wins 55 games every once in a while. But for 28 out of the 30 teams, every team is going to win 60. They're going to lose 60. What do you do in the 40 games? Last night, it's just a game you lost. That happens. There's not too much to say. You get 2 hit. Your starter gives an okay performance. Went long into the game. He gave some time off for the relievers. But at the end of the day, it's just a game you lost. You move on to the next game.
Yeah. This is when people say you're not built for 162. Last night's loss, if you sit back and you overreact to that, you're just probably not built for 162, because that's a game that happens, as Reed just said, and I'm not concerned. They just swept the Angels. They took Game 3, a game they shouldn't have won anyway. It was a bullpen game, and you come and play this game against a lefty. I had no hope, really. I didn't have any hope. As soon as I saw the lineup, respectfully, I know lineups don't mean a ton, but obviously Stuart Fairchild leading off, adding Bubba Thompson, Nick Martini versus a lefty. It's just Espinal. It's just not a recipe for success ever. It's just not. And again, I'm not going to sit here and blame David Bell because half our lineup's sick or injured or using steroids. That's just not what I'm going to do here. There was a big war on Reds Twitter last night or yesterday afternoon. I didn't even see this one. Well, it wasn't as big as others, but it was basically that Stuart Fairchild shouldn't be leading off ever. There should be no situation where Stuart Fairchild leads off.
He had one of the 2 hits.
And again, the splits, the analytics, I'm not too into it. But at the same time, if he's gonna kill lefties, which he does, he's been very successful against lefties this season. If he's gonna do that, I don't see why it hurts to put him at the leadoff spot. Because at some point you can't have 6, 7, 8, 9 be the worst hitters this side of the Mississippi. I mean, they're all terrible. Every single one of them. If you were gonna do Stewart, Bubba, Nick Martini against the lefty, and Espinal, 6, 7, 8, 9, we're going to have an issue. You can't do it like that. You have to spread out the bat a little bit. You have to even out the lineup. And that's what David Bell did last night. Again, the Reds have to be better against left-handed pitching. And that's where I get so mad at Noelvi Marte, because this team was starting to look like a team that could hit left-handed pitching. If you have Matt McClain, you have Noelvi Marte, you have Jonathan India healthy in there somewhere. It's like, okay, Tyler Stevenson's starting to hit up. Now we have a lineup against lefties. We don't right now. The Reds cannot hit left-handed pitching. They cannot do it. Basically, it's survive and advance. If you can get enough pitches on that lefty to hopefully he leaves in the sixth inning, maybe you have a chance against the bullpen. You saw it against the Angels. But right now it's tough. It's tough watching this team against left-handed pitching. The at-bats are down. Ellie had a really bad at-bat last night. A lot of them did. It's just uncompetitive would be the word, I would say, when a lefty comes into town, and that's just what I have to deal with. I'm not going to overreact. Though. I mean, some of these guys are due for a bad game. Spencer Steers carried the load for 20-something games. Tyler Stevenson's been hot the past week and a half. You know what I'm saying? So, and Ellie De La Cruz, again, what else can that guy do? So you can't expect every single guy to go off every single night. It's not likely. It's not going to happen. I did find it funny. Casey Leguima, I think that's how you Casey. I just don't know how to pronounce names. Casey Leguima. How do I say that name? How do I say that name? Do you know how to say it?
Leguima? I don't know.
No, we just don't know. Leguima.
Someone give us a pronunciation guide
please.
in the chat.
They called him up obviously when Frankie Montas had to hit the IL, but I knew this guy was bad. He came up and immediately was just bad. So
Legumina.
Casey Leguima.
Legumina. Yep.
Legumina. Nick Kirby adds, funny thing is, Reds as a team have a higher OPS versus left-handed pitching. And there we go. Just stats. Stats. And I can't argue with them. But my point being is that eventually, against the left-handed pitching, I have to feel somewhat confident. And there has to be a lineup that works. We're still trying to figure it out. David Bell's still trying to mix and match what's working throughout the year. But as of right now, nothing's working.
Craig Sandlin says these guys host a Cincinnati sports talk show. Sorry, we didn't know the relief pitcher that came up from Louisville yesterday. He has pitched a lot for the Reds. Here's the thing.
Let's play a game, Craig. Let's go on the street and ask everybody on the street if they can pronounce Casey Legumina.
Well, we should probably as a Cincinnati and Dayton.
Sure.
And Dayton, because we are on 14-10.
Sure. Let's go to the streets of Dayton and we'll say, hey, I got 70 guys here. Casey Legumina is one of them. Let's see if you can pick him out of a lineup. And I would bet we go 0 for 70 on that department. But to each their own.
You ready? We're going to play a game. We're going to go. It's going to be called pros and cons. I'm going to yell, give me a pro. I'll go pros of yesterday's Reds game. Give me a pro.
Hunter Greene looked okay.
All right.
Hunter Greene looked okay. The fans wanted him to go longer. He went longer. 7 innings, 4 runs. He looked fine. I thought Hunter Greene actually looked pretty solid. If I have to give one shining star about yesterday's game, he looked like he was in control. He wasn't over pitching in at bats. Yeah, they were hitting off him, but at the end of the day, he did his job. When you go 7 innings and the bullpen needs an off day, essentially, that's what he did. He did his job. He looked fine.
Give me a con.
Left-handed pitching looks terrible, and when we have to play a left-handed pitcher, it's legitimately brutal. Every at bat is brutal. But and again, it has to change at some point. Ellie De La Cruz against a lefty, I'm still not a full believer in. I know I'm going to get killed for saying any type of slander against Ellie De La Cruz, but it's just I think the at bats are vastly different. When I see his how comfortable he is against a lefty opposed to how he is as a righty, I see a difference. Maybe there's not. I know he's hitting roughly the same on each side. But I would say that most of the stuff on the right-handed side are little grounders, bloopers, and he's able to reach first base because of how fast he is.
Against left-handed pitching in his career, he's batting 189 with an on-base percentage of 256 and a slugging of 280. That's contradiction of how he hits against right-handers, 269, 344, 516. So much. The question whenever you talk about switch hitters, and this has been kind of a movement that we've seen. Cedric Mullins, very famously of the Baltimore Orioles, came up as a switch hitter, former Campbell Camel. Their head coach is from Hamilton.
How about that?
Shout out. But Cedric Mullins came up as a switch hitter, eventually moved to just the left side of the plate. You talk about guys like I remember Jason Varitek, who was a switch hitting catcher for the Boston Red Sox. Couldn't hit right-handed. Just couldn't do it. Still did it. Still went up there every time a left-handed pitcher was thrown, and he tried his best as a right-hand. So the question is, you simply got to ask yourself, would Ellie as a left-handed hitter against left-handed pitching be better again than Ellie as a right-handed hitter against left-handed pitching? That, I don't know. I would argue at the current moment in 76 games, 150 at-bats, can't get much worse. That's a small sample size to what we'll extrapolate over Ellie De La Cruz's career. But I don't know. It's too early to throw in the towel. I think Cedric Mullins did it in year 3. You're going to see more and more. Like, switch hitters are already going the way of the dodo, right? They're already just kind of meandering out of the league. You don't see as many as you used to, and that's because, listen, you only get so many resources. You only get so many swings. You only got so much time in the day, and when you hit lefty and righty, you got to devote double the time, right, to getting that swing right. If you need 1,000 swings to get a really good left-handed at bat, you're going to need 2,000 swings to get it right on both sides. So we'll see what happens. I mean, there's been no talk outside of Reds Twitter, outside of fans going, hey, maybe he should just hit left-handed. But I think more and more across Major League Baseball, you're seeing switch hitters move away. And like I said, it's just because it just takes a lot more time. It takes already a lot of time to perfect a swing. It takes a lot of time to be a really good hitter. And now you're asking a player, hey, we need you to do it twice. Why not use those, if you get 200 swings in a day in the cage, why not diverge all of them to the left side of the plate?
I wouldn't hate to see it. And I know, again, there's a large portion of the fan base that would probably disagree with me on that. But I think it's better to be consistent all the way around, and my biggest thing is consistency. And if Ellie's consistently hitting from the left-handed side of the plate, I don't hate it. Last night, I think he tried to lay a couple bunts down from the right-handed side. I would like to see that more from the right-handed side. If it's going to be that kind of contact where you're kind of just hitting ground balls, try to lay down a bunt or two. I think that's better, and it gives you a chance to reach first base using your speed. I don't hate it at all.
Jamer Candelario, as a career switch hitter, has an OPS against left-handed pitchers at 771 and an OPS against right-handed pitchers at 725. Pretty similar splits. Both batting, he's losing 30 points against right-handed pitchers on the batting average, but, he's getting on base a lot. It's pretty similar. You're not seeing that with Ellie De La Cruz this young in his career. I just looked up Ian Happ. He's a switch hitter for the Chicago Cubs. Pretty similar splits on both sides of the plate. Ellie doesn't have that right now. We'll see, right? We're gonna find out a lot about all these young players. After all, they're just 22 years old, guys. He's just 22 years old. He's just a little baby. But on the serious note, just give it time, right? Just give it time.
Yeah, I'm giving it time.
And if you need to eventually just go, hey, Ellie, we'd prefer if you not only just focused on your left-handed swing, but you also got to step out of the box earlier, because that's what lefties get. They get an extra step. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's the end of the world. Any other notes?
I was sure. Casey, you watched the game, I presume?
Yeah, I watched as much as I could until I felt like it was basically over. I guess that doesn't make me a diehard Reds fan, but as soon as it was 7-0, I think that was like
it was ninth.
In ninth, I just turned it off. The one thing I will say about that we haven't really touched on in terms of just the actual defense itself. Giving up 7 runs is not a winning formula either. Phillies are really good at hitting, right? Like they have put a lot of money in getting these batters. The thing about Hunter Greene, you already said that he pitched really well. I saw some stuff that people were still killing Hunter Greene. I don't understand that. I thought he did really well last night. And
he didn't give up a crooked number, which is a big thing.
Yeah. I don't think I thought, like, if you were going to ask him to do that any other game, I think that's acceptable. I think you should be able to win ball games giving up 4 runs. I think that's something you should expect from our hitting lineup. And the thing is, what's most disappointing about the game yesterday is just the hitting. I don't understand it. It's one of our strengths, or so I'm told. It's one of our strengths, and we always seem to just disappear in games. And it's so inconsistent. I just wish there was more consistency.
Yeah, that's my biggest flaw with this team is that they're not consistent, and it's part of the hurdles of being a very young team. You're still trying to figure everything out, so it's hard to be consistent when you're still changing up everything constantly, and that's what it is. You're just trying to change it up, see what works, see what doesn't work. Against right-handed pitching, we work. Against left-handed pitching, not so much. That's at least what I've seen so far, especially in some of these at-bats. I know Nick Kirby brought up the number higher OPS, but that's certainly what I see thus far.
We're going up against Christopher Sanchez today.
That's correct.
Left-handed pitcher.
Correct.
Another lefty.
So yeah, I mean, we had to face two lefties with the Angels. My goal is to outlast them. Get to 6 innings, try to get a hit during that span. And then once we get to the bullpen, we can see what we can do. But that puts a lot of pressure on starting pitching, more pressure than anything else, really, because going in, you're not going to get any help. You are probably going to go 5 2/3 innings, 6 innings, and you're not going to see a run. And if you do see one, you probably won't see 2. And that's what you have to work with going into every night now.
Christopher
lefties.
Christopher Sanchez, 2.53 ERA in 4 starts. The 4 teams he's played are not all that great. I mean, he played the Colorado Rockies and the Washington Nationals, and then he's also pitched against the Cincinnati Reds, a game that the Reds won in 10. Was that the Spencer Steer Grand Salami game? I believe it was.
I think it was.
He pitched that game, and then he also pitched against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hasn't won. He lost his first 3 starts. He won his last game against the Rockies, who just aren't very good. And they just aren't very good. Struck out 10 batters in that game, which, you know what? I could strike out a Little League team too. Yeah. So any other thoughts about the Cincinnati Reds game yesterday?
No. I think that really covers it up. That covers it up.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna give you the pros and cons. We're gonna start kind of meandering over into the stuff that Casey does really well, the stuff that I know a lot better, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals, that is the NFL draft, and we're going to kind of lay out the pros and cons of each position or each move that the Cincinnati Bengals can do in the first round this year, and we'll just discuss it. We'll be back here on 1410 Wing AM, your home for sports in the Miami Valley. And we're back, baby. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
You're nailing it.
I'm hosting today for Trace Fowler. Gave the boss a day off. But yeah, we're going to start talking about the NFL draft. It is Thursday. I think that this has the opportunity to be the highest rated draft ever in terms of TV viewership. And the reason I think that is because Caleb Williams is obviously a divisive and a kind of a unique talent there. There's going to be 6 quarterbacks taken. The NFL has never been more popular than it is right now. All these things considered, I think it's going to be a smash hit in terms of ratings, as it normally is. A lot of casuals don't care. I really don't care. I like to know where the quarterbacks go. I like to know who my team drafts. But I think it's a pretty good event. Shout out to the National Football League for making everything they do watchable. I don't know how they do it, but they do
every single thing.
Every single thing is borderline must-see television. And I'm going to sit down. Luckily, the Bengals, or I guess not luckily, because typically when you pick late in the round, it means you had a pretty successful season. They pick right smack dab in the middle. I won't have to watch for 4 hours. I can just watch just until the Bengals pick, and then see by that time there will probably be 4 or 5 quarterbacks taken off the board. I'll be like, all right, I'll go watch something else. I'll go watch playoff hockey or playoff basketball or the Chicago Cubs or the Cincinnati Reds. But
I was going to add, the most watched NFL draft,
yep,
the most viewed NFL draft was the 2019 draft, averaged 6.1 million viewers across NFL, ESPN, ABC TV, and
the
digital
2014
channels.
draft, you said?
2019.
Oh, 2019, okay.
2019. So
that was the last one before COVID.
Kyler Murray, Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams. We had Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, TJ Hawkinson, Ed Oliver, Jonah Williams, Bengal. That was the most watched NFL draft.
I think part of the numbers thing also depends on who's actually there at the draft physically, because you get to see your player put on the jersey, right? They're not just sitting at home on a live stream, right?
Like
you get to hear them talk, like
right.
they got drafted. They're going to say a little something about their team getting drafted there. I think it has something to do with it.
Like I said, I think it's a thing where the more quarterbacks are, because they're kind of the peak interest, the human interest there. the more that there are, the more likely that people are going to tune in, because that's, once again, the casuals. Like, you can watch a lot of college football. You can dive into all the draft prospects. You don't know all 32 guys, more than likely, that are going to get taken. At least you didn't watch them in their college heyday. You probably watched all the quarterbacks at some capacity. So that's where you dive in. The last time that there was this many quarterbacks deemed to be taken early in the draft was 2020, which, of course, saw Joe Burrow get taken in his parents' living room during COVID in Athens. So is what it is. All right, let's do pros and cons of each position group that the Cincinnati Bengals can take, that they're rumored to take, that people are going to go, well, you can do this, you can do this. Here's what I want from you guys over here. I'm going to say the position group. I'm going to say, and when I say the position group, I'm going to point to you guys, and you guys go pros. All right?
Yeah.
All right? Then I'll give my pros. We'll discuss it. We'll do the pros. Then I'll point at you guys again. You guys will say cons, and then we'll talk about the position group as a whole. All right?
Yeah.
Got that?
I like it.
All right. Let's day. We're doing this on the fly. Ready to rock. All right. Offensive tackle.
Pros.
It's a strong tackle class. If you hit on the guy, you can further cement the thing that we as Bengal fans have been searching for 4 years now, and that's an offensive line that Joe Burrow has deserved. It's an offensive line that can protect the guy that we believe, that we hope, that we pray will take us in the promised land. He got us almost there twice. We know that if we continue to protect him, that this team will be pretty good for years to come.
Cons.
Nice. The Bengals haven't had a good time drafting offensive line in years past. They haven't. I mean, you can look at Jonah Williams, Jackson Carman, look at Billy Price. These are all top 2-round picks. Two have been absolutely bust. Jonah Williams has been an okay tackle. He's been good. He's been bad at sometimes, but he's been good. He's been hurt. But the Bengals haven't had a very good time drafting offensive tackles. So there's not a whole lot of hope that you can continue or you can buck that trend. And on top of that, the Bengals already have their offensive line somewhat figured out for the year. Orlando Brown, Trent Brown, those are going to be the starters, more than likely. Even if you get a top-tier guy, he's not going to go right into the fold right off the get-go. You're not going to expect he's going to not make an immediate impact on the team. He's going to learn for a year, which similar to quarterback, tackles don't get enough credit for this. That's a position that it takes some time to learn at the NFL level. That's not cornerback. That's not wide receiver. That's not something you just, hey, we got this guy, throw him in there. They'll do okay. They'll do okay right off the rip. Running back, throw him in there. They'll do okay right off the rip. It's a very hard position. It's a reason that the position is valued so highly. It's the reason that guys there will always be tackles taken in the first 10 picks. Always. Because teams know that you got to protect your quarterback. So that's the cons. Guys, what do you think about the offensive tackle? It is, like I said, if you get it right, you set this team up for success for years to come. You set Joe Burrow up for success for years to come, and we all know that's the key to Bengals success, getting that guy time, getting that guy opportunities to succeed. But, like I also said, not a good track record, and the guy's probably not going to play right off the rip.
Yeah, the two biggest things for me are the playing time for the offensive tackle right away. You're not getting value at that first round pick where you could get in other positions, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later on in this list. The other thing too is, you mentioned it's getting it right, and the Bengals are probably going to be picking the 5th, the 6th, maybe even the 7th, 8th offensive tackle. I don't want to spoil any of my bold predictions, but I think there's going to be a ton of offensive linemen taken in the first round of this draft, and it could just fall that the Bengals don't get an opportunity to get a guy that makes sense.
Right.
So, yeah, that's my thoughts on offensive tackle.
I would say that, again, I tend to agree with Casey here. And like the points you just mentioned, Reed, I don't think they have a good track record of drafting an offensive lineman, and for that reason, I would prefer not to waste a pick. And not only because of that, if they're not going to play to begin with, if they're going to ride the bench, again, don't see a lot of purpose. When I know Joe Burrow said the window is career, and he is right, but coming up into this season after a down year last year, because Joe was hurt.
He was hurt.
I would like to see the Bengals improve, and that improvement would not be because of drafting an offensive lineman in the first round. It'll help the team in the future if he's good, but I don't play with that. I'm gonna go. We'll take a guy that we can play right now tomorrow.
Yeah, and this is a thing that the Bengals have done the last 2 drafts. They've picked guys that weren't going to be an immediate impact. Dax Hill 2 years ago, Miles Murphy last year. We saw Dax Hill fill into a starter role that had mixed results, right? He was good at the beginning of the year, then kind of went cold at the end. And then there's Miles Murphy, who's shown some nice things towards the back half of the year, but didn't play a whole lot at the beginning. I think people have higher expectations for Miles Murphy. We knew that Miles Murphy was kind of going to be a project. But I do want to make this point. When you're drafting as late as the Bengals have picked the last 2 drafts, these are essentially second-round guys. Miles Murphy was actually a unique situation that a few weeks before the draft, he was slated by some as a top 10 pick, and he fell all the way down to where the Bengals were, which I think was 28, 29. Somewhere in that range. So we'll see. We'll continue to see. I don't think it's the end of the world to have a guy sit. I like the Bengals roster right now. I know I'm kind of on an island with that. I like the Bengals roster, but there is a hole that they need to fill, and let's go into that hole. Defensive tackles.
Pro.
Yeah. You'll be filling the most egregious hole on this roster. A piece of the roster that was a bright spot under DJ Reader. He obviously went to the Detroit Lions. So when you look at the starting 22 of the Cincinnati Bengals, there's still one big hole, and that's interior linemen. And we're seeing more and more how important defensive tackle is. Look at the last 5 years of Super Bowl winners. They've all had a disruptive piece in the interior defensive line. Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Vita Vea with the Buccaneers. These pieces, right? Can the Bengals continue to do that? Can they fill the hole that is left by DJ Reader?
Cons.
Nice. See, we're getting it. We're getting the flow. Is it goofy?
Sure. The point helps.
Is it goofy? A little bit. Sure. Cons. You're probably not going to replace DJ Reader. You're simply not. That kind of a role isn't something that's easily replaced. I think that it would be more copacetic for the Bengals going forward to kind of change up scheme. Maybe you don't need a player like DJ Reader in the middle of there. Maybe you can focus on guys more suited to a Sheldon Rankins that you're trying to get more pressure on the interior when they drop back to pass and not so much when they run, which the Bengals did have a bad run. At the end of the day, I think that the con here, and this list by far out of all the position groups that we could say has the lowest amount of cons, is that I don't think, contrary to other positions that we could draft, it can have as big of an impact in terms of if the Bengals are ever holding up the Lombardi Trophy. I think that it will be from some of these other positions, like a tackle. Hey, and say Joe was upright. Joe doesn't get sacked 7 times in the Super Bowl. Or you could say the next one, which is going to be pass catcher. You're like, Brock Bowers had 2 touchdowns and 150 yards in his postseason games. A defensive tackle is mightily important, but I'm not seeing per se how big of an impact it can put. Casey probably is going to tear that point apart, but Casey Rue?
I think that the right defensive tackle makes the world of difference. And luckily in this draft, the top 2, Jerzon Newton and I almost said Miles Murphy, Byron Murphy, those 2 are special. I think that they are going to be very, very high impact players, whichever team drafts them. The thing about each of them is that I think they provide this team with a answer to a weakness that they've had even since before Joe Burrow, and that's pass rush. You can never have too much pass rush.
Yeah.
And I know that we just got Sheldon Rankins, but if you go look back at our 2021 Super Bowl run when we had B.J. Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, and DJ Reader, those 3 combined made for a very scary pass rush that we just haven't had since then. And I think you adding Jerzon Newton, he can play inside and outside. Same thing with Byron Murphy, that both guys are capable. And also, like Byron Murphy, he played nose. He was able to take on double teams. I'm not saying he's going to play nose at the NFL level, but he's providing you with a run defense that, you don't normally see with a 3-tech.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that too, you have to put that into consideration when you're looking at both these guys, that they can provide not just pass rush, but some level of competency in the run game, which we really struggled with last year.
Yeah, where would you guys rank the Bengals' defensive line in football, if you had to give it a ranking?
With DJ Reader, it's good. Like it
was top 15. It was top.
It's good. It was good, but obviously you lose probably your maybe not your best piece. Trey Hendrickson's probably better, but DJ Reader is obviously a big loss. He's coming off an injury, over 30 years old. That's why the Bengals didn't give him a contract. Listen, if you get a defensive tackle, and a pass rushing one at that, interior defensive tackle, you give the Bengals something that I think is the best it's been during this current run, and that's pass rush. As Casey said, it's like pitching in baseball. You can never have too much of it. The sentence is, we got too many pass rushers. Doesn't exist. Take it off the face of the earth. And if you get a guy, so now you're getting Trey Hendrickson, you're going to get a guy like Miles Murphy off the other edge. I think Sam Hubbard's going to fill into more of a role player next year. Sheldon Rankins certainly rushes the passer more than any tackle we've had since the Super Bowl run. And if you get another guy, you get 4 guys that can get to the quarterback. And if you can make a quarterback feel uneasy, it doesn't matter who's there. It doesn't matter if it's Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter if it's Josh Allen. It doesn't matter if it's Lamar Jackson. If you can make him feel uneasy in the pocket, you give yourself a good chance to succeed. So the first two are, I think, where we all kind of want to go: offensive tackle, defensive tackle. But now there's some auxiliaries. Are we running out of time here on the third segment? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll finish up this segment. Stay tuned. You're listening to 1410 Wing AM. Your home for sports in the Miami Valley.
This is just bull junk. Now we bull junk for a little bit.
Well, let's finish this. Let's finish this topic. Unless we want to do the ads and finish this.
Well, to the radio listeners, they wouldn't lose any time. It's the same time. So that's what I'm saying. Like, okay. you can unless if you're hot on your thought, then we can just continue to roll here. But it's your call.
I say we finish this segment. See, this is where we do pre-show, and by pre-show we don't do pre-show. This is where we just kind of just it's jazz, baby. We're just kind of moving. We're just kind of going with the flow. How about this? We take another 5-second break.
That's right.
We take another 5-second break. We come back. We finish this segment. Then we go into ads. Deal?
Deal.
All right. I don't even have to say anything because we're already at break. Deal. All right, you're back on 1410 Wing AM. This is Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. We're talking about the different roles that the Cincinnati Bengals can go in the first round of the draft. We talked about offensive tackle. We talked about defensive tackle. Here's another one that has been rumored. It was rumored last year. It'll be rumored this year, and it's a hole that the Bengals, similar to offensive tackle, isn't a hole that they have right now per se, but it will become a hole in the near future, and that's pass catcher. Whether it be a wide receiver, whether it be a tight end, there's a lot of good wide receivers in this draft. There's a tight end that people get really excited about. That, of course, is Brock Bowers. But let's go ahead and give you the
pros.
You can give Joe Burrow a definitive third target once again. This is something that Joe Burrow has had every year during this current run. Obviously, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. You lose Tyler Boyd. You're on the final year of T. Higgins. You're currently operating with about 2.5 targets, right? I'm excited about Mike Gesicki. I think we saw some nice things from Andre Yoshivas. I think that there could be a guy that steps up into that role. I don't want to bank on that. I like what Joe Burrow does with 3 targets. This gives you more comfortability. And as I've said with the offensive tackles, and as I've said time and time again with pass catchers, you just got to put Joe Burrow in this greatest opportunity to succeed as possible. And getting him another weapon certainly does that.
Cons.
You simply don't need to do it. You simply don't need to. This is something that you can push off another year. I don't know if you guys know my take on wide receivers, but because of the way that the youth game is played, because of the way that college sports is played nowadays, college football, wide receivers are coming out better than ever. Go look at first-round picks over the last 5 years. I think we did this one time. It's like an 80% hit rate. You don't see that at other positions. You don't. 80%. And you can go into the second round. There's a lot of good second-round wide receivers. You can go to the third round. There's a lot of good third-round wide receivers. You get lower of a hit rate, but you can get guys in the draft later on. I'm not quite there. I have that take on the running backs. Dime a dozen, whatever you want to say. It's plug and play. I'm not quite there with wide receivers, but it's certainly trending in that direction. I think you'll start to see wide receivers getting less and less money because teams are seeing the talent that's come out of the draft. This is another draft. We did it last year. We did it the year before that, where we say this is a great wide receiver draft. At some point, it's not a great wide receiver draft. It's just the way the game is now. It's just the way the game is now. Guys, thoughts on getting a pass catcher in the first round?
So it depends on which pass catcher it is. More than likely, we're talking Brock Bowers here, which I just did some number crunching right before we did this segment. And we're looking at roughly 150 snaps that you're having to replace. Or 150 targets, I'm sorry. Not snaps. 150 targets. 98 from Tyler Boyd, 64 from Joe Mixon, and I'm assuming most of those will go to running backs. But, you know, share some of the love. And then Tanner Hudson, you know, you'd probably be losing some snaps there or some targets there if you were to get Brock Bowers. So I'm looking at like roughly minimum of 100 targets to 150 targets. That to me is a huge part of the equation here. That is providing you with some major value all year round. I'm not 100% out on the pass catcher. It just has to be a top pass catcher because I think there's a difference between obviously Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson than guys later on in the draft. I do think there are a dime a dozen, and maybe you don't need a guy.
I'm not there yet. That's not a dime a dozen yet.
I'm basically there. I'll say it. They're a dime a dozen. I don't think you need a full-on stud like Jamar Chase, and those guys are like Romeo Dunes, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., I guess we'll throw in Brian Thomas Jr. and Adonai Mitchell because those are the other two that would more than likely be available. You don't necessarily need that, but if you did, you're basically right back to where you were in 2021 when you had a stellar career or stellar season from T. Higgins, phenomenal season from Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, one of the best rookie seasons of all time. Mm-hmm. I think you'd pick up right where you left off.
That's another reason that I think that wide receivers becoming more talent. Past few years now, we've had an incredible rookie wide receiver, right? One of the best seasons ever. Puka Nacua last year. He's a 4th round, 5th round pick, whatever he was. Jamar Chase a couple years ago. Like, it's happening more and more. Elliot, you're about to get a thought?
I think there's a big difference between guys like Charlie Jones and Yoshi and a first round, second round selection.
That's true.
So when you say, it's an 80% hit rate, it's because you're getting a guy that's not Yoshi or Charlie Jones. And I say that with love and respect. But those two guys, I mean, where do we see them in the future? It's very early in their careers. We don't know. Right. But I have a hard time believing they're going to make a significant impact for the Cincinnati Bengals. I have a very hard time believing that. Saying that, I would prioritize getting a wide receiver maybe in the second round, not the first round. I think there's other needs at the current moment because we do have T. Higgins. We do have Jamar Chase. We do have those options available to us right now. But if we didn't have T. Higgins, I'd say we draft a wide receiver in the first round. Because I do think at some point you do have to prioritize that position so you don't settle for guys like the ones we made last year and obviously did not culminate to much.
Hey, listen, I agree with you. Andre Yoshivas is not Jamar Chase. He's not T. Higgins. But he did have 4 touchdowns last year, and that's not nothing. I just looked up Tyler Boyd. His last 5 years in the league, he had 2 touchdowns last year, 5 the year before that, 5 the year before that, 4 the year before that, and 5 the year before that. It's like you're getting somewhat similar production, at least in scoring, which isn't the end-all be-all. That's one stat over the course of what all these other pass catchers do. But yeah, I think that you do need to get a pass catcher at some point in this draft. And if you don't get one this year in the first 3 rounds, you have to go really early next year to kind of supplement because T. Higgins more than likely is gone. But I don't know. And as for Brock Bowers, if you get a guy like, if Brock, for some miraculous reason, he drops to 18, it's not going to happen. I think there's going to be like 5 quarterbacks taken. I think there's going to be like 3 or 4 tackles taken, but still Brock Bowers is going to go before 18. If he falls to you, yeah, you give yourself an opportunity to get a tight end, which, similar to interior pass rush, if you look at the dynasties, you look at what these teams that win a lot, the Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs, they had something in common. That's Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce. If Brock Bowers can be that, yeah, that's a winner. But let's not act like tight end in the first round is you talk about hit rate. Hit rates on wide receivers last 5 years in the first round, 80%. Hit rates on tight ends in the first round, not so great. Not so great. That's where you're got to be got to walk with caution. All right, cornerbacks.
Pro.
Nice. We're getting it. Hey, we go for a while, then we go. Hey, listen, you add more resources to an already talented, an already athletic cornerback room. This is a thing where cornerbacks, you need depth, right? Perhaps more than any other position on the field, you need a lot of cornerbacks that can play at a relatively high level. The Bengals, I like what they have there. I like the talent they have there. It's just not very deep. You get an injury at some point, you're looking at a pretty thin group. And this is something that the Bengals have already put a lot of resources into. This is something that they've kind of stressed in former and recent drafts. But this is a thin unit. I like Cam Taylor-Britt. I like these young guys that they have. Do you go just kind of cement that for years to come? Do you continue to put a lot of resources in?
Cons.
I think there's bigger fish to fry. I think if you look at holes on this team, there's better places to use this first round. You know, we've already talked about the most egregious hole on the defensive on the entire roster, and that's interior tackle. That's a defensive lineman on the interior. We talked about what's going to be in the future. They don't have a right tackle signed after next year. Trent Brown's a 1-year deal. You got to figure out that in the next 2 years. You're going to lose T. Higgins, or you're going to lose your number 2 pass catcher. There's bigger fish to fry than cornerback. And like I said, you need depth there. But I think after the draft, if you don't get any cornerbacks there, you can still get a couple guys in the free agency. I think there's different ways to add depth to cornerback.
Well, much like I said about pass catcher, I think corner is an underrated need on this team as well. We lost Awuzie this offseason. He had 722 snaps. And we didn't replace that at all. We haven't found anyone to replace Awuzie. Now, I do think you could find a lower-level talent, of course. But there's a hole there. There is a significant hole there, and I think you can never have too much corner depth.
Yeah.
And the more unlikely scenario happening is you're getting one of the 2 top corners in this draft. It's either Terrion Arnold or Quinion Mitchell. And to me, those 2 have potentials to be number 1 shutdown, lockdown corners in the NFL. If you're telling me you can combine that with Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner as your number 3, and Mike Hilton as your slot,
Dax Hill's gonna get some reps probably at cornerback this year, right?
Yeah, I think that is a solid corner room. I think the safety room has been improved. I think that is a revamped, new-looking secondary.
If you get a cornerback in the first round, and he's good, right? You hit on it. This is now something you don't worry about for a couple years.
Yeah.
In a cap league, you're always turning over your roster. The thing I hated the most that we were talking about a couple months ago is, the Bengals are in a rebuild. It's not a rebuild. It's a retool. This is what happens in the NFL. The Chiefs have turnover. The Patriots had turnover. Every team has turnover. And the teams that don't give themselves a very small window to win, a la San Francisco 49ers currently, a la the New Orleans Saints a couple years ago. It's just a part of it. If you really do believe that the window to win a Super Bowl is Joe Burrow's entire career, then this is going to happen not just once, not just twice, but multiple times where you're going to be looking it over it again. Now, if you get a guy in a cornerback in the first round, you pretty much solidify that for years to come. Cam Taylor-Britt would be on year 3. DJ Turner's on year 2. Juan Drago, which is still wild. His name should be DJ or JD Turner, but he goes by DJ. And then whoever you draft in the first round, and then you just kind of get some veteran pieces to help fill that. So you do cement something, but like I said, I think there's bigger fish to fry. And they've done a really good job at drafting in farther back rounds on the cornerback. Cam Taylor-Britt was a second-round pick. DJ Turner was a third, or was he a second?
He's second.
Second. So there you go. They've done a good job. They've done a good job there. All right, final one I got. I need you guys to be quick on this one. All right.
All right.
Edge.
Bro. I got in my head on that one, and I was gonna say Con right off the rip.
Let's do it again. Ready?
Please.
Edge rusher.
Pro.
Jared Verse is a freak.
Con.
Really? Again. Like, I mean, if Jared Verse is there, he's a freak. He could be something, but we just did it last year. We've already got Sam Hubbard. We've already got Trey Hendrickson. We got Miles Murphy. We already put resources in on Sheldon Rankins on the interior pass rush. Like Casey said, can't ever have too much of it. It's like pitching in baseball. Oh, we've already got a starting rotation. We've already got 5 guys. Well, you just keep getting talent. But again, like I just don't see this. I just don't see it. It's something that if sometimes they force your hand, someone so talented comes to you, you just got to do it. And I think the Bengals still can do that. I don't think it's like we're definitely drafting needs. We're definitely doing this. You can do a BPA kind of system, but really, again.
The only thing I would push back to argue, just to be the devil's advocate here, is that we had Sam Hubbard play on injury for a majority of the season last year, and we just now found out he had reconstructive surgery on his ankle. Nothing too serious. I don't want to freak anyone out, but that cannot happen. You cannot have a player hurt and it affect your defense the way it did. I think it's an underrated need, but it's not something I would address in the first round, obviously. If they did, I would want Jared Verse because he provides you that versatility. He was one of the best tested athletes in the draft process. I like Jared Verse a lot, just not here in Cincinnati.
All right, the final thing, I'm not going to do a pros or cons, but the other option they could is trade down. They currently have 4 picks in the top 100. They have 2 third-round picks, and obviously their first and second-round pick. I mentioned this before, outside of the top 10 picks in the first round, and though that's going to be exacerbated a little longer because of how many quarterbacks are going to be taken early in this draft, it's not the end of the world. And the Bengals have drafted very well in the second and third round. They really have. We can look at Miles Murphy, Dax Hill, Jonah Williams, Billy Price. We can look at all those. But then you look in the second and third rounds, and that's where the money is made, right? Cam Taylor-Britt, Logan Wilson, T. Higgins, all these pieces. Yeah, there's a Jackson Carman slung in there every once in a while. But the Cincinnati Bengals have done very well in the mid-round, early to mid-round, second, third, to where if you trade your first round, trade back, and you add into top 100 picks, I don't think that's the end of the world. And then you can get needs, right? Then you can just start filling holes via the draft, getting young players. It's not the end of the world. Maybe the Bengals do it. We'll see. We'll see. They seemed this is a new iteration of the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I don't know. When we come back, we'll have 5 bold predictions, or just bold predictions in general, revolving around the NFL draft, around other teams. Not the Cincinnati Bengals, but other teams at all when we come back on 1410 Wing AM, your home for sports in the Miami Valley. All right, now we can bull junk.
Bull junk.
Now we can bull junk. We'll do our ads. We'll bull junk around for a little bit. When we come back, we'll have the bold predictions. I think it could be a fun draft. Yeah. I think it's going to be a fun draft. I think there's going to be some exciting, there's going to be some explosive things happening.
How many trades do you think there'll be in the first round?
See, I'm bad at that. I do think that there will be, I think the Vikings have already shown their hand that they're going to trade up. I think that the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the Chargers, who all have top 5 picks, I think I could see all of them trading back for one reason or another. I don't know if teams like the Broncos would trade up. I don't know if teams like the Raiders will trade up. I don't think they have the capital to do that. But we've seen Stranger Things. Stranger Things. Still waiting for the new season of Stranger Things.
That should come out in a couple years. I love Netflix, but we're taking way too long. That last season, was that 2021 it came out?
I watched that show. I watched it like the day it released, the first season. And those actors were just wee babies. There's little kids.
Little kids.
Now they're like 20.
Yeah, they're adults.
Now they are full-blown adults. I think Millie Bobby Brown's engaged to be married.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. All right, ads.
Yeah, the Bengals report, Reds report, FCC, everyone else around here in Cincinnati is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with the suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
That's right, productivity. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. And let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that the brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy that great tasting water. Also, check us out. Give us a like. Hit the sub button if you haven't already. Notification bells. Check out our memberships. We're starting to do a lot more stuff for the members. A lot in the works to start really fledging that out and getting more content to you guys. And do I have anything else? We got the Reds show later on tonight after the game.
Yep.
Or in the ninth inning.
Yep. Red show tonight. Red show tomorrow. I imagine Trace will be alone on the show tonight because Curb.
I don't know.
Curb's
Well,
got
I
family
think
thing?
they're still trying to figure out what's going on with the show tonight.
Okay. Are you gonna do it?
I don't. We're having conversations. We're having conversations.
Trace has coaching duties.
Yeah, I'm aware of the situations. We will talk about that after the show. But I presume there will be a show tonight.
Can I do it?
Man,
Can I do it?
They'd love that. They'd love that, especially if it's a loss.
Oh man, it is funny, and I know this is just how it goes. We see this in football season with the Bengals. Like our Monday off the bench show after the Bengals win, 200 concurrent. You know, we do well. They lose, not so much. You get on Chatterbox Reds after a sweep, 400 people watching, 500 people watching. You get on after a loss, 120, 140.
It's isn't that crazy? Just like nobody wants to talk about losses. Nobody.
Hand up, like as a Cubs fan, the shows that I listen to about the Cubs, I don't listen when they lose. I don't need to hear that. Don't need to hear that.
I don't listen to podcasts about the Bengals when they lose. If the Bengals lose, it ruins my week. I'm done. I'll wait till the next win is when I can hear about it. Not to credit credit to other podcasts, but when they do their Monday NFL show, I legit can't listen to it if the Bengals lose a game. Can't do it. Won't do it. Just sad. It makes me sad.
When the Bengals lose, it really does ruin your week. Just makes you very upset. Like, doesn't matter how it looks. It just ruins your week. It simply ruins your week. We got any other bull junk to get on before we get back?
Kirby says there will be a show tonight. I should be on. So this negates what I've been told. So I'm sure, but Nick is the boss. Nick is the boss of me. So I think he would know more than I know.
Nick, I will heed this advice as someone. I mean, you have kids. I do not. Maybe there's bigger things than the podcast. Bigger things than the podcast. I don't know.
Baby.
But if you can do it, you can do it. I'm free. I'm free.
Could you imagine a Chatterbox Red show from the hospital? That would be wild. That'd be a wild. You just have to get. Hey, can I have my own waiting room, please? When I need to talk about the Reds. What a fitting place that would be.
You got good Wi-Fi.
Talk about
asking the doctor. Just say, hey, what's the Wi-Fi password? I need to get on like a private Wi-Fi.
I need to get on like the surgeon's Wi-Fi.
Right.
Whatever the big one is. I need to get on that one.
Give me whoever does the business accounts. Get me on their Wi-Fi. You know what? I got a hard line. Just plug me in. Plug me in. All right.
I think that's it. Any other bull junk from yesterday's sports day? I'm trying to think of what I have a couple. I hope we get to them this segment because what I saw in that Athletics Yankees game was the most disgusting act.
How many segments we got left? Because you
only have one radio segment.
One radio segment
for 15 minutes.
Okay.
But we do have a buy or sell and a mailbag at your disposal whenever you want to use them.
Let's do this bold predictions, and then that'll be the final radio segment, and then we'll have fun on the show. And if we go over, we go over.
That's right.
If we go over, we go over. We don't have box lunch.
Hashtag.
I do have to get to Miami at some point.
Oh, that's right. What time are they playing?
Play at 4. They play at 4, so I got time. I do
baseball tonight or softball
baseball.
tonight?
Softball got pushed.
Okay.
Softball got pushed. By the way, tomorrow, over here. Tomorrow, Miami softball will be on our YouTube channel. They play a really good team. Carly Spade, if she hits 2 home runs, will be like second all time in NCAA home runs. I don't know. If you guys want to watch, feel free to tune in, give that a like. We greatly appreciate it. Like this stream. Appreciate you guys. Trace will be back tomorrow more than likely. We will see about that. All right. Pause.
For station identification.
Yeah, we pause for station identification. What does that mean?
I don't know. It's you got. I still was never told a strict answer on that. You just got. They got to hear the letters of the station every once in a while. I think is how they do it. But I'm honest to God, I don't really know. That was explained to me, and I just didn't understand it. I know they got really mad at me when I missed station identification because there was a couple buttons you had to push for it. And it would be like the top of the hour, the bottom of the hour, station identification. And there would be some like when you're working a game on the radio, it's just sometimes you're zoning out, and then they're like boom, and we pause for station, and they don't like cue it up, they just say it. It's just during the middle of like the Reds just got a hit, we're talking about it, Cowboys giving analysis, and then Tommy's like, and we'll pause for station identification. It's like, oh my God, and I have to get in action. But yeah, so let's do a 5-second pause, and we'll get right back to it.
All right. We are back on your home for sports in the Miami Valley, 1410 Wing AM. You're listening to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. If you haven't, feel free to tune in on our YouTube show as well. You can find us on YouTube, search Chatterbox Sports, and you'll find us. We're there every day before we go live on the radio, 10 a to 12 p. Then we're on the radio from 1 to 3. Kenner and Kev will be up after this show. So stay tuned. We're going to go through bold predictions. Thursday is the NFL draft. I think there's a chance for, just because of how many quarterbacks are needed in the NFL, because of how many quarterbacks are available that look like decent quarterbacks that could be good, I think there's going to be some explosives. So without further ado, here's our bold predictions. Me and Casey both have a small list. We're going to get into as many as we can in this 15-minute segment. My first one. Going number 1 is going to be Caleb Williams. Going number 2, from what everyone is saying, is going to be Jaden Daniels going to the Washington Commanders. That leaves Drake May available for the New England Patriots. My bold prediction is that the Patriots pass up on Drake May. They either trade back or they take a Marvin Harrison. And they just, listen, if I'm the New England Patriots, I'm looking at my roster. I'm looking at what the great Bill Belichick left me, and it's not a whole lot. The cupboard's pretty bare. It's pretty bare. And even a Drake May, he looks incredibly talented. It's not always there, but he looks very talented. He's big, strong, has a great arm. He wasn't very consistent, and that's kind of the knock. He might take some time, might need some time to really be a good quarterback in this NFL. But you send him up to New England, and you're basically putting him out on a desert, man. Their own line's not great. They have a defensive head coach. They have absolutely no weapons, so on all the things that you need for a copacetic for a quarterback to succeed in this league. Now, I do believe stars will star. I do believe that if you're bound to be a star in this league, you will be a star in this league. Joe Burrow didn't exactly inherit a great situation. Now, they gave him one, right? They drafted T. Higgins in the second round. They went and got Jamar Chase the next year, and things kind of blossomed from there. But I think if the New England Patriots, and they're going to have the availability to draft Drake May, I think they'd be better off suited, trading back, getting more picks, and kind of rebuilding that roster. Once again, it's a barren cupboard, and it's just not looking good for New England, at least this year. Like, they're not going to compete this year. So why even try to push the envelope? Why not just try to fill up a roster?
I agree with that. I think that the Patriots, if they were smart, they would do that. Now, I don't know if they're going to be smart. It kind of goes into what one of my bold predictions is. I think it's a great trade partner. I think the Vikings, my bold prediction, will trade up into the top 5, and I think the Patriots make a lot of sense to trade with them. You're not trading too far down. You're getting probably 11 and 23. Mm-hmm. I think that's enough ammunition to go get yourself a high-quality offensive player. Maybe you fix your offensive line before you get that quarterback. And at 23, maybe if you're still feeling a little frisky and none of the quarterbacks have been taken, maybe you get a Bo Nix. Maybe you get a Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah.
Or you just get one of the best receivers available. Who knows? There's a lot of options there.
I would argue if you're planning on taking a quarterback in the first round, you should just probably go get the best one that you can get. But I get what you're saying, right? You can also get a first round. You can get a wide receiver and a quarterback in the first round if you trade back. But you won't be getting a prospect as good as Drake May. Bo Nix has a lot of starts in college football. Don't overlook that. 61 starts. He's played a lot of games in very competitive football, and I think that is important. I'm going to do one more, and then
I had a question for you guys.
Yeah.
There was some doubts on a guy like Bryce Young, right? And I assume there's going to be certain doubts for guys like Drake May, guys like that. There's no doubts on Caleb Williams, really. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the draft. I'm going to draft Caleb Williams. Right. If you don't, how confident would you say a team would be that's going to draft a guy like Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, 9th pick, 10th pick? For Drake, obviously, it'd be earlier than that. But for J.J., you're looking at around the 9th, 10th spot.
Maybe.
How like, and I guess the Packers kind of did it too with Jordan Love. You're taking a little bit of a flyer there. Is it worth the flyer to take a quarterback you don't fully believe in? Because I think for you said
no.
That
If you trade up, that's not a flyer. That's someone you have to believe in. That's someone you have to believe. This is why I think we talked about the Vikings trading up if the Patriots don't want him. For Drake May, I think that's a good situation. Not on top of the fact that they have Kevin O'Connell and all these weapons for a quarterback. On top of all that, you're not going to ask him to start right away. They have Sam Darnold, who I think a lot of prospects are saying about Drake May. He might need some time because of the inconsistencies. He's got the talent, but it's always good to let a guy sit behind. I don't know. I think if your plan is to trade up, you're kind of all in on that guy. You're kind of like saying, like, you can't do both things. You can't like trade away draft picks, and then go, all right, we'll see you in a couple of years. You can't do that. So taking a flyer on these guys, we'll see. Drake May.
Did you see Everett? By the way, for those listening on the radio, again, we're on YouTube as well. Chatterbox Sports, check us out. Everett in the chat says Todd McShay said the Vikings had the best situation for a rookie quarterback. Right. Some are saying he stole it from you.
I look at the situations, and I think the top 3 situations are by far the Vikings. They've got Kevin O'Connell. Some are calling the tall Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Some are calling him that. They got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, an okay line. They play in a division that doesn't have really good defenses. Check. It's a pretty good situation to go into. I think that the Bears, once again, they play in that same division where there's not a lot of good defenses. They've kind of gotten some veteran pieces for Caleb Williams, who they're going to draft, and they've got a lot of draft capital to go with. I think that can be a decent situation. The only thing that scares me there is they don't have an offensive head coach. They don't have an offensive mind. Now, they brought in a new offensive coordinator, but, I mean, if it doesn't work in year 1, see you later to both those guys, and we're in year 2 with a whole new crop. Now, people laughed at me. Sean Connor sent me an email when I said this last time.
Love this.
The Washington Commanders isn't a bad situation, guy. It's not a great one, but like it's shaping up to kind of work. They've got good wide receivers, right?
Terry.
Who they got? They got Scary Terry.
Yeah, they got Scary Terry, Dimey Brown, and Jahan Dotson.
They just got Austin Eckler, right?
Yep, they just got Austin.
And they got Cliff Kingsbury, who everyone laughs when I bring up that name as the OC. Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know if you guys know this, but he was the head coach of Patrick Mahomes in college. He was the head coach of Kyler Murray, took them to the postseason in that very competitive division.
Got boat raced.
But, I mean, took him to the
You're
postseason.
Right.
Took him to the postseason.
To our guy. He got boat raced by our guy.
Who's our guy?
Joe. Wasn't he the one who got boat raced? Didn't Cliff Kingsbury get boat raced by Burrow?
In the playoffs? I don't think that was...
Was that not Kingsbury?
You're talking about Lincoln Riley?
That's who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Lincoln Riley.
When I say Kyler Murray, I mean in the Cardinals. He was
I
was
thinking of Lincoln Riley just
All right. Now we're back down to planet Earth. Casey, what's your bold prediction?
I'll do a Bengals bold prediction. I think Brock Bowers will be available at 18, and the Bengals will pass up on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me your rhetoric.
I think that you look at the state of, like you said, the history of drafting a number 1 tight end in the draft and how difficult it has been to develop a guy like that. Mm-hmm. And I also think if Brock Bowers falls, what else is available there? If that scenario plays out, it probably means that there's 6 quarterbacks taken. Probably means that there has been a huge change in a lot of defensive players taken, offensive linemen taken. So I don't know. Maybe there's other guys that have fallen in that scenario. And there's also too, why are you here? Sort of in the back of your mind. Why would Brock Bowers be here at 18? You should have gone in the top 16,
right?
Or top 10 even. So why are you here? That might give him a little hesitation.
All right. Here's my next bold prediction. Now these things, they contradict what I just said. And listen, when you go fishing, I just cast a net out there. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going fishing. I'm casting a net. Hopefully I'm right on one of these bad boys. But this very much contradicts what I just said. But it's a bold prediction that I think could happen. And I want you guys to be ready for this. J.J. McCarthy goes before Marvin Harrison Jr.
No.
You ready for this?
No.
It's disgusting.
Trade 1, or pick number 1, Caleb Williams goes to the Chicago Bears. Pick number 2, Jaden Daniels goes to the Washington Commanders. Pick 3, Drake May goes to the New England Patriots. Pick 4, Arizona Cardinals are up. They trade away their 4th pick for 2 first-rounders to the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings trade up and get J.J. McCarthy. So Marvin Harrison is taken after J.J. McCarthy.
Yikes.
Not saying it's a good move. I'm just saying
that
beware of it.
franchise would crumble in on itself. That would be brutal.
We just talked about how great of a situation it is. The Minnesota Vikings. I'm not saying J.J. McCarthy is going to be an elite quarterback. But if there's any, and I'm not a believer in J.J. McCarthy. Let me state that. I don't think he can go to New England. I don't think that he can go to the Raiders and turn that around and be a guy to come for years. But if he goes to Minnesota, I think he'll have some success. So you guys hate that one, don't you?
That was disgusting.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it might happen.
That's like a franchise defining pick. You wouldn't trade that away. If the Bengals wanted that pick, what would it cost? It would cost 2 first-rounders. That's what we're trading there for. You think it would just be 2 first-rounders would get the job done?
Unless the Cardinals are just listen.
I don't think 2 first-rounders gets the job done.
I think 2 first-rounders they would get. Listen, if 2 first-rounders doesn't get the job done, then the Cardinals are pretty sold that they want Marvin Harrison. Which, once again, I think that worked. Kyler Murray, I believe in. I think we kind of sleep on him. He came up, looked pretty good at the beginning, then he's gotten hurt, plays a lot of Call of Duty. But he looked pretty good last year. And if you get Marvin Harrison, what's his comp? Larry Fitzgerald Jr., who played for the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, you get a wide receiver that is pretty much can't miss.
I mean, there's another scenario here that doesn't involve having to trade away 2 first-rounders.
Ooh, T and a.
Well, I was saying Justin Jefferson to the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Yeah,
that would work too.
Yeah, and
would you even give up a first-rounder after that? If you give up Justin Jefferson,
if you give up Justin Jefferson in a second,
yeah, for
Marvin Harrison, talk about that, and then you could probably still get just JJ or whoever you want. Like I said, I think unless I would trade up for the Vikings for Drake May. I don't know if I'd trade up for anyone because I would just take whoever I get with my first pick.
Would T in a first get you Marvin Harrison?
Probably.
Really? You think so?
You think so?
Yeah.
Would you do it? I would do it.
I know what the Ohio State fans would say.
Actually, I'm sorry. It would probably take T.
It would take more than that.
It would take T a first round in our second round.
I was going to say in a mid. All right, Casey, give me one more bold prediction.
My next bold prediction, I think we will see Ayuk or Deebo Samuel be traded away, and T. Higgins sits pretty here in Cincinnati.
If you're the 49ers, who you trading away, Ayuk or Deebo Samuel?
Ooh, that's a good question. To me, I thought Ayuk looked great as your number 1. Deebo, he might be the reason why they lost in the Super Bowl last. You just go look at the numbers, and when he was targeted, he was not very good. He had maybe 2 or 3 catches that whole entire game, and he's supposed to be your number 1 receiver. I don't think so. I think Deebo is the least. I think Deebo, yes, he has a lot of versatility, but I think that he is the most expendable because of how that offense is run anyways. You don't need Deebo
I disagree with
Samuel.
that. I disagree with that. I think Deebo Samuel, because Kyle Shanahan has come out and said, when Deebo's not playing, we throw out half of our playbook because Deebo Samuel is that valuable. He's older. He's not as much of a true wide receiver as Brandon Ayuk, which kind of scares you when you talk about if you're going to trade away one of these guys. But Deebo Samuel, he gives you so many options. He gives you so many options as a wide receiver. He can hand the ball off. He does so many things well. And like I said, they have to take out half their playbook when he's not playing. Brandon Ayuk is a traditional. He's going to rack up more yards. He's going to do all the things that you want out of a prototypical wide receiver. But Deebo Samuel is kind of a unique player that not many teams have. And that gives you an edge on other teams. All right. I think that wraps up our show here on Wing AM 1410. Kenner and Kev coming up right after this. This was Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. We'll see you again tomorrow. Trace Fowler will be back. And we're back. Now we're just.
I don't think Brandon Ayuk's a wide receiver one. I think he's a very good wide receiver. I don't think he's a wide receiver one. They were talking about it on Kenner and Kev yesterday. I was listening to their show, and they had a segment based on what Reed says and how wide receivers are close to becoming the new running back, where they're almost interchangeable, unless you have the best of the best. And they were talking about Brandon Ayuk, and I agree with Kev. I think Kev was the one who said it. Ayuk's a really good wide receiver, and he is a wide receiver one because on most teams he'd be the best receiver on a lot of teams. But when I think of like the best wide receivers in the league, I don't think of Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, but
I think of Deebo Samuel.
You have not been exposed enough to Brandon Ayuk yet. Like he just blossomed last year. He just became their number one go-to receiver last year. Just go look at the numbers. I mean, he far outperformed Deebo Samuel. To me, Deebo is your gadget guy, but he is one of the best gadget guys out there, and he does a really good job at it. He gets you 1,000 yards. He gets you maybe 400 yards rushing. I doubt that. But to me, Deebo, you can even replace Deebo this year with Malachi Corley, and you would be.
You said Brandon Ayuk drastically outperformed Deebo Samuel, right?
Yes, this year for sure.
Okay. In one fewer game in the regular season, Deebo Samuel, between rushing and passing, had 1125 yards and 12 touchdowns. 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk, in one more game, had 1340, 7 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel got the ball 97 times. Brandon Ayuk got the ball 75 times. I don't think that's drastically outperforming. I think we're splitting hairs on who performed. I'll take the 12 touchdowns over the 7.
I mean, but they're two different players. I think
the point.
Yeah, I know. One of them gives you more options.
Yeah, one of them isn't going to be your X though. That's what I'm saying is like.
But I think Ayuk's more easily replaceable. Deebo is one of one in what he does for the team. Ayuk is more of the traditional wide receiver that you can fill his role in the draft.
That's where we're going to disagree. I don't think that he's easily as replaceable. And I know I've said receivers are a dime a dozen, and that Deebo is a special type of receiver where he's a great gadget guy. But I think this year in particular, if 49ers really wanted to trade Deebo Samuel, which maybe if you guys are telling me that he's better than Ayuk, maybe he garners more of a trade value. And if that's the case, I think they'll go get Malachi Corley, and they're right back where they were. I don't think there's a big difference between – just go look at the numbers when it matters most, when he's playing against really high-level teams.
Yeah.
He does not do well. He does well against teams that stink. But that could be said, I guess, for the 49ers in general.
Right.
But, I mean, I think that they can easily be the same offense without Deebo.
See, I think that's where we're going to agree to disagree. That's where we're going to agree to disagree.
I think Deebo Samuel changes a game plan similar to Christian McCaffrey. I think those two players are so dynamic that your offense should be centered around them. Ayuk is a guy again, and Max Vicker said
McCaffrey is Deebo, but the running back version.
Sure, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're both dynamic players. Max Vicker says in the chat, if you give Ayuk those touches, he'd have the same production. That's probably fair, but he doesn't because Deebo's better. and you focus.
I just think it's an easier role to fill, Brandon Ayuk, than Deebo Samuel. Like you're let me put it this way: you're not replacing what Deebo Samuel does for your offense. You're going in a different direction. You're running different plays. You're running different sets. Brandon Ayuk, you can keep what you're doing. You can continue doing what you're doing. You're just going to have a different wide receiver, traditional wide receiver, instead of Brandon Ayuk. And they've got to get rid of one of them, right? More than likely. Like they don't like their situation there in terms of money. I want to get one more bold prediction. And once again, I'm casting a wide net here. The first one I said that the Pats pass up on Drake May. Then the second one I said that JJ goes before Marvin Harrison because the Pats draft Drake May. So here's my other one that contradicts the first one. 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. That's my bold prediction.
6.
So 3 are 100% going, and I think 4 are like 99% going.
Jaden, Caleb, Drake are all going.
JJ's probably going to go.
JJ's probably going to go. Who'd be the other 2?
Bo Nix, Michael Penix.
Man.
I think teams like the Broncos, although that looks a little worse because they just got Zach Wilson.
Oh, we're going to talk about this. I got to do my buy or sell for this real quick. Really quick.
Well, let's finish this thought, and
Okay.
then we'll get into the buy or sell. And then like the Raiders, the Seahawks, you can see these teams taking a Michael Penix. Or it like Bo Nix has played a lot of games in college football. Like if I'm gonna expend a late first round pick and I need a quarterback, I would rather on Bo Nix because you've seen him play a lot.
Yeah.
You're not taking as big of a risk with Bo Nix.
I think, I have 4, like one of my, I'm not going to go super deep into this, but I have like the Rams, Raiders, Broncos, Saints, Seahawks, all potentially wanting to trade up to go get a guy. And if there's 4 quarterbacks taken in like the top 7, I think that it's going to be like a free-for-all. I think all those teams are going to start panicking and try to trade up and go get their guy, whether it's Michael Penix or Bo Nix.
We'll see. Who are the other quarterbacks that could be taken mid-round? Like the kid from Tulane, Michael
Spencer Rattler as well.
Spencer Rattler. Yeah, have you guys heard about that kid from Tulane?
No.
His like brother died. Like he's had like friends die. Like he's had a tough go at it. Beat USC in the bowl game. Beat Caleb Williams.
That's right.
Maybe the Bears should take him. All right. Ellie Rue desperately wants to do
Pratt
this.
is from Tulane.
Michael Pratt. That's his name.
Jordan Travis, too.
Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Joe Milton.
I was going to do – so this buy or sell had to do with what you just talked about. So I was going to bring it up real quick. The Broncos have the worst quarterback room in the NFL. Have you seen what it looks like?
Get me it. I know it's
Quarterback 1, Jarrett Stidham.
Gross.
Quarterback 2, Zach Wilson.
Gross.
Quarterback 3, Ben DiNucci. That is your quarterback
Are you
room
Gucci with Ben DiNucci?
for the 2024 Denver Broncos. That is the worst I've ever seen. What happened?
There's definitely something.
We got coffee spilled.
Oh,
No.
no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Hold on. We got to get
Is that it?
We're all right. We're all right. We're okay. This is why you don't let me do the big boy thing.
Was that yours?
Yeah, and it just had a little more than I expected. I thought it was empty. We're good.
Oh, no. Do you want me to get paper towels?
I'll get them. You guys talk, and I'll solve this problem.
Okay.
I'll solve this problem.
Oh, no.
Well, I would have to say it's one of the worst situations that you could possibly have. That's why I think the Broncos are kind of underrated in order to get maybe a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, I agree.
I know that would mean 4 quarterbacks,
Yeah.
but you probably want as many guys competing for that spot as possible if you're Sean Payton. So, I don't know. I think that it makes a lot of sense to go get a quarterback with that terrible of a quarterback room.
If that's that bad, I would say let's trade up. Let's maybe get a quarterback.
Yeah, but the Raiders, go look at the Raiders. They're not any better. They're pretty bad too.
Let's look at the Raiders depth chart. Hold on, let me pull it up. 2024. Everybody,
Like
calm
they got,
down.
I know they have Aiden O'Connell, and I think that's their starting quarterback.
So it is Aiden O'Connell. Oh, they have Gardner.
Oh, they got Gardner. Okay, well maybe. But
If they've
that's
Gardner
still-
Minshew.
That's still not a solid starting quarterback.
No, but
either.
Gardner Minshew was good. Gardner Minshew's fine.
They'll be okay with Gardner.
Zach Wilson and what's his name?
Danucci.
Danucci. I mean, that's terrible.
Stidham. Yeah,
I
that is terrible.
legit can't even fathom that. But good. I guess good luck. Good luck to him. Casey, I got another buy or sell for you.
All right, sling it my way, Big Pippin.
Big Pimpin', yeah. Here we go. And we talked about this right before the show. I had to put it on here. The Bengals should bring back Tyler Boyd if he's available.
After the draft.
After the draft.
So and I think that makes a lot of sense because you would probably be getting him at a good price, a reasonable price, and well, maybe not. The dynamics of that would mean that he's probably going to be your third string regardless. Like even if you brought in a new guy, like they're gonna put Boyd out there because they know Boyd, he knows the system, and they love Boyd. So
do you think Boyd would feel like wrong, slighted, if the Bengals waited and then after all of that nobody's signing him, then the Bengals are getting like just a hometown deal? We're just gonna pay you nothing because nobody else wanted you.
I don't think that's a slight. I think that's actually doing him a favor.
I agree, but some guys I assume would take it the other way. I would sell that. I think we've seen enough of Tyler Boyd at this point. I don't
want him to be my number 3.
Correct.
I think he's good
point.
depth.
I'm back.
How you doing?
I'm back.
Did you clean it?
I did. I cleaned it. Got some towels.
It didn't get inside the hole, did it?
It did not get inside the hole.
There might have not have been a funnier sound than just.
Well, I thought it was happening outside. Like I was like, "What is going on behind me?" And then I was like,
I thought there was a leak.
It sounded like a leak was like going through the wall, and then I realized like the lid popped off my coffee that I had down there because I kicked my foot up on it and wasn't good. There was a lot more coffee than I thought that was in there, but we're all good.
You want the Bengals bring back Tyler Boyd?
If it's a good deal.
Okay.
Like if we bring him back for $1 million or $2 million, why not?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
But you wouldn't want him as your receiver 3. I think I would be out on that if he was my receiver 3.
Yeah, I guess it depends. If we draft a guy, then no. And I think we're going to draft a guy probably in the first with one of our first 4 picks in the top 100.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's just like what role does he have?
Yeah.
We're just bringing him back because he's Tyler Boyd.
I agree.
I'm surprised that Pittsburgh passed on him. I really am because he's from Pittsburgh, went to Pitt. It just seemed like it checked a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
But I digress. You got any more buy or sells?
Well, what I'm gonna save those buy or sells. I want to do my mailbag. I want to do a mailbag.
Okay.
Because we're running out of time. I got to do this mailbag.
Okay.
Casey, can we run the mailbag sounder? Because I think I just saw the umpire scorecards from yesterday.
Yeah.
Laugh out loud funny, this guy. This guy is what a horrible game he had. I'm very excited. So run the thing.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from.
Also, the chat very upset with the NFL talk today. Very upset.
They hated it.
But here's the thing. One of the bigger days in the NFL season happens on Thursday.
You want to talk about the 7-0 loss yesterday? You want Rita Rudo to talk about that one?
There's not much really to add to a 7-0 loss. The Reds had 2 hits in the entire game. If you want me to get on the David Bell for making a bad lineup, that's what he has to work with. Nick Martini had to play. He can't hit lefties. He had to play against the lefty because there's no other viable options. Stuart Fairchild has to lead off because there's no other viable options. You want Ellie De La Cruz to lead off, but then you look down the lineup for the rest of the lineup, and it's just terrible. These guys can't hit lefties, and that's okay. We move on. Eventually, bad games happen. This is a bad game.
Let's talk about big MLB things, too. Like, are the Dodgers going to turn it around? They've lost 7 of 10.
Yeah, that's nonsense. But nonetheless, here we go. They want Indiana Fever talk.
Love you, Molly.
Love you, Molly. So we're going to do a letter. Obviously, we ran the little intro there. Today's letter is from Little Angel. From Mrs. Hernandez's class. Angel is a little leaguer from Our Lady of the Victory Vipers 6th grade baseball team. Angel is a very good player, but unfortunately is very short-tempered. Anytime his coach or teammates disagree with him, he punches them in the face.
Oh.
Little Angel in last night's game struck out on a questionable called strike 3. When he turned back to argue with the umpire ejected him from the game. Angel wants to know, when do the power trips of these professional umpires cease and we move on to robot umpires who don't hold vendettas and grudges against players and managers single-handedly taking over baseball games? And if you didn't see the clip, I'm going to run it right now, because in yesterday's Yankees athletics game, an umpire, his name being Hunter Wendelstedt, shout out to me for knowing a name, unlike KZ Legumina, Hunter Wendelstedt tossed out Aaron Boone, the manager of the Yankees. Why, you ask? Because a fan, not even near him, started heckling the umpire. Take a look at this.
So the fan in the blue shirt.
You can see the guy in the blue right now. He's the one chirping this umpire. Umpire thinks it's Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone is bewildered, and he's furious. Absolutely preposterous. I can't play the full clip because there's a lot of F-bombs. Well, I guess I could have now if we're not on the radio. I should have brought that one in. Hilarious. You can't be that negligent when you're an umpire. You can't be it. You can't, and it can't happen. It's impossible. It was the first inning of a baseball game.
See, this is where.
And by the way, real quick, I know you're going to give a take. Here's some other nuggets from this. He had a 68% strike accuracy rating yesterday. 68%.
No way. No way.
So it was overall accuracy was 89, but the called strike accuracy was 68%, Reed.
I'm pulling it up.
Hunter Wendelstedt.
Oh, man. I mean, that zone is just huge. I mean, what a big zone.
Reed, this is why, and again, I understand the human element. I think it's cool having umpires still. And you're not getting rid of umpires. They're just their decisions will be made by robots. They need to happen soon, because that can't happen. Can't happen.
In defense of Hunter Wendelstedt,
yeah.
If you're going to have a bad zone, make it wide. I hate tight zones. Hate them. It makes the game go forever. No one likes I know they teach people to walk and stuff like that, but when like they're just missing strike calls left and right, no one likes that. At least when it's big, you're just like, all right, we got to swing a lot today. So open up the zone like Hunter did. But yeah, that's egregious. The one thing that I do like about umpires is it adds drama to the game. I will admit that. Like you do take out element of it. Like that stuff doesn't happen if they can't do it. So instead of talking about it, it's just like, oh, it's just another game in the Bronx.
Yeah, but like if that was
the goal of the sport to get the rightful winner and to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to say we're costing people games. 68% strike call accuracy is pathetic. And on top of it, you're throwing out a manager for literally no reason. I've never laughed harder than when I saw that clip.
That's funny.
What are we doing? Is that the worst ejection in MLB history? He threw out a manager because a fan heckled him. Reed, that's absurd. And then there was no argument. Like, he left the game. He left.
Does it beat when Bobby Valentine tried to sneak back in the dugout with a mustache? You ever seen that?
That is really good, too.
That is funny.
Really good.
When I get bored, I watch clips of umpires and managers yelling.
That's what I do, too.
Like the fun one is
I do ejections.
our ass is in the jackpot.
It's the best clip in the history of baseball.
There's another good one where the umpire's arguing with Terry Collins. Or not Terry Collins, but Earl Weaver. Hall of Fame umpire Earl Weaver with the Baltimore Orioles, who won a couple World Series. He's arguing with the umpire, and Earl Weaver's this little guy, right? He's small. This umpire's like 6'4", and he's just looking down at him. And Earl Weaver is just letting him have it. And at one point, Earl Weaver says, "I'm gonna be in the Hall of Fame one day. You know that? You know that?" And the umpire says, "What are they putting you in the Hall of Fame for? Losing World Series?" Awesome response. What an awesome response. It was great. It's great. You should look it up. Earl Weaver goes nuts. There's one from minor league baseball. My dad showed me all these when I was young, and we watch these religiously.
I want to see if I can find the full clip and send it to Casey, because it is so funny that it's nonsense. Do you think over or under 10 years robot umps will be in the MLB?
They'll still have umps.
That's what they'll always have the umpires.
Well, I guess you just won't be arguing balls and strikes anymore.
Correct. That's my point.
Right. You just won't be arguing balls and strikes.
They're there for the show. They're there because it's the
Well, they still got to
pastime.
call people out and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but then that call can be overturned. So then their job's useless.
Can you imagine that job? Just
What?
like I just stand there now.
That's great, Reed.
it's- you-
You get to
you're-
watch baseball every night.
You're just basically then you take one off the face mask. You're the home plate umpire. You just take a foul tip off the face mask. You're just like,
that's-
this sucks.
That's so. By the way, you didn't mention Logan Woodside is returning to the Bengals. Former Toledo legend. He was a quarterback when I was at Toledo. I think he got in some trouble with the law.
TOL.
EDO.
That's right.
How about
That's
that?
right. Oh, you know what? Shout out to the Toledo. By the way, Toledo has a kid that's gonna get taken in the top 15 picks, right?
Brendan Mitchell.
Yeah, the cornerback.
Yeah.
Cornerback. Shout out
Very
to the
good.
Rockets. The crazy part about Toledo is they're the only MAC school that I think cares. They're the only MAC school that cares. They sell out that stand. They're like, if you're an OU fan, like Tom, we'll take Tom. Tom went to OU. He supports his alma mater.
Yeah.
He roots for Ohio State. Like at the end of the day, he's rooting for Ohio State. Toledo fans root for Toledo.
Oh yeah.
Like they're not like they're not Michigan or Ohio State fans who also root for Toledo. They root like their team is Toledo.
There's
Which
some,
I think is cool.
I think there's some character in that. I loved it. When I went to when I was at Toledo and I would go to those games, it's a fun atmosphere, man. It's almost, I don't want to compare it to high school because it almost seems like I'm belittling it. But it has that atmosphere when you go to a MAC game. It's not like that at every MAC school. You go to Bowling Green.
No,
and
they
you
filled their stadium, which is nice.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
they
a packed
do- they do.
house. It's like a packed Friday night at
Right.
Elder. It's
bigger than that.
Well, it is a little bit. I mean, not much bigger.
How much How much bigger you think it is?
I would bet it's 12,000 more.
All right. Well, that's
a
double.
significant
That's double.
amount.
That's double.
Correct.
That's double the size.
I was just helping out my cause.
That's 100% bigger.
It's more than 100%. It's like 120%.
All right, I've got Glass Bowl. Do you know what the pit?
I think it's like 10,000. It's right around 10,000.
Well, it took me to New Mexico basketball. The pit Elder. 10,000 is they just gave a nice round number. It is 160% bigger than the pit. The Glass Bowl holds
Okay.
27,000.
We need to add some more standing room. Yeah, I only get factors in the standing room. Casey, run this clip, please, if you wouldn't mind.
You know what?
Before I run this, explicit warning.
Oh yeah, explicit warning.
Cover those ears.
Cover the ears
These
if you
are
don't
these
want
are
to
baseball men saying baseball words.
Oh, we're not going to need a John Boy breakdown of that one. We got a very clear. Well, there you go. And now Aaron's saying I didn't say anything.
I love the
Aaron's saying,
pointing.
"Hold on a
I love the
second, I didn't
pointing.
say a word.
How small do you think that umpire feels? That's incredible.
The clip.
How
of-
stubborn? Because you can't. I don't think you can unthrow somebody out. Maybe you can.
I don't think
know.
you can. I don't think you can.
Maybe I guess it's. I really don't know how that works. Like you're like, what if you like they toss you right, and he's like, all right, you're back in, right? You do this one, you're like, out of here, and you're like, it wasn't me. And then you're just like, all right, you come back in, come back. In.
The
You're
shot of him just the zoom in with the camera of him just looking at his hands, not saying a word, and then the umpire tossing him is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Get rid of the umpires. I'd say that with love and respect. They do a good job. It's a thankless job. Any good umpire, you have no idea what their name is because they do such a good job. I now know the name. Let me find it. Hunter Wendelstedt.
Yeah.
Hunter, I now know your name. That's a bad thing.
It
That's a
is-
very bad thing.
So this is where I push like everyone. We get to these conversations about what we do regarding rules, and everyone wants to stay put on rules. But I feel like automatic strike zones and everything like that, people are on board for that, which is unique. Normally, it's people like, no, I like the human element and stuff like that. I think a lot of more people than not are like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing a bad strike zone. I'm tired of seeing. I do think that the strike zone on the broadcast has hurt the way we look at umpires. Not that we ever looked at umpires favorably, but just the fact that we can see when they're missing zones, which that's been 10 years now?
Yeah.
Right around 10 years. It used to not always be there. You used to just use your eye that looked like a strike. That looked good. Now you're like, oh, that missed. This is bull junk.
I do think most people overreact to an umpire's missed call. You miss one call and a crucial at bat, you're going to say this umpire is the worst guy of all time. And so it's not. It's again thankless job completely. But if you have the option to take out all of those errors completely, do it. Angel Hernandez is an abomination to the sport. Everybody knows that. The league knows it. The players know it. Everyone knows it. You can't get rid of him because of the union. You can't fire a manager because they're bad at being you can't fire an umpire for being bad at being an umpire. Unfortunately, it's the way the world works.
All right, so I'm looking at this is something that was brought up, and this is how we'll end the show. We'll do a little Reds talk. We'll do a little Reds talk to end this show very briefly. I'm looking at the schedule, right? Obviously, the Reds just got through the easy part of their schedule where they played the White Sox. They played New York and Washington, and I think New York's actually a little better than we maybe perceive them. But the next series are Phillies, Rangers, Padres, Orioles, Diamondbacks, Giants, Diamondbacks, Dodgers, Padres, Dodgers, Cardinals, Cubs. Then an easy 3-game series against the Rockies at the beginning of June. Back to Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Boston, Pittsburgh. Pretty much until middle of July, you're playing series against teams that think they can make the postseason other than the Rockies.
Oh yeah, it's brutal. This is a gauntlet.
Well, I think I think that's just the National League in general. I think there's really only 3-4 teams that don't think that they are contenders for the playoffs, and by mid-June that'll become a little more clear.
Yeah.
One team in the NL Central will bow out of this 5-team race. One more team from if the Giants don't, play well through May, are they going to bow out? Or the Diamondbacks just going to be I know we made the postseason last year, but we're 10 games under 500. Let's see it. It will become more clear. But as it currently stands, until the beginning of June, only 1 to 2 series against teams that think that they can make the postseason.
We don't get the Athletics till late August. It's unfortunate.
So, I guess what I'm saying is, I saw them talking about it. Next 30 games. I think Trace put the poll on Chatterbox Reds last night. If they go 13-17 over the next 30, will you take that? Which the next 30 is hard, and that would put the Reds under 2 games under 500. And I think 62 to 65% said yes. They will take 13-17 over the next 30. And I say this not trolling. And I hate that I have to put that disclaimer, but I guess I do troll a lot. If that's the expectations, what are we doing? Right? If that's yeah, we'll take that. We'll go 13-17 over our next 30 games. We'll go under 4 games under 500 against playoff contenders. Well, what are the expectations? They're conflicting things. If you ask Reds fans, are you a legitimate playoff team? They will say yes. They say yes. We think we are a playoff team. But then when then you ask the question, hey, you're playing against other playoff teams. How do you think you'll fare? 4 games under 500. Those things don't equate. 500
is always my baseline. This series, this series with the Phillies. If we split it, I am thrilled. From going, that's my if we go 500, I'm okay, that puts us in a fight. If we're settling for under 500, this team isn't a playoff team. And that's just what if I'm not saying you can't you can go undefeated here. This is a gauntlet of a schedule, but you can take 2 or 3 against Texas. It's possible. You can beat the Padres on the road. You can take 2 games from the Diamondbacks at home. You can win in San Francisco. There's a series where you can win here, and I do think that because it's the Reds, we somehow temper our expectations to being well, if they're a little below 500, that puts us in a position to be in a position where we can be above 500. And it's okay, well, doing a little bit too much there. But yeah,
I don't know. I just
don't get swept anymore. That's all I ask.
that is big.
Don't
That
get
is big.
swept. If you avoid the sweeps, you're gonna be fine.
I don't know. I think that those are conflicting opinions. And I get Nate put in there, that's the expectations because of injuries, not playing well, etc. I get it. And like I said, I said this yesterday, every team is dealing with injuries, and simultaneously every team thinks they're dealing with more injuries than the next. That is not a unique opinion of Reds fans. That is across the board. You listen to Cubs podcast, they're talking about the exact same thing. I know everyone gets injuries, but we have a lot.
Brewers pitcher just
the
was
Brewers
hospitalized yesterday because he was standing in batting practice, got drilled in the neck with a baseball. So
and once again, everyone's saying, yes, I get that, Reed, but we've had a lot, and I'm not belittling that.
yeah, we've set a franchise record the past 2 years.
Yeah. It's just if you set the bar so low, again, like if you don't think you can compete with teams that make the postseason, then I just don't understand how you can have that same opinion and still have the opinion that you are a playoff team. And I get the idea is just hang around and give yourself a position to win at the end. But at some point, then we talk about not every game's the end of the world, not every series is the end of the world, but at some point they do matter. They do matter.
Of course they matter. They matter a lot. I just limit the sweeps. That's all I'm asking. Because if we get 4 games swept here, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna feel really sad.
Don't get swept. You can't. 4-game sweeps are even worse.
Oh, those are brutal.
Yeah, those are bad. Those are bad. Pirates last year. Yeah, I mean,
Your Pirates stink.
they've talked about it. They talked about it before. Listen, every team's going to go through stretches of bad play. Every team's going to go through stretches of good play. The goal is, right? We talked about every team's going to lose 60 games. Every team's going to win 60 games. The goal is when you're hot, you got to capitalize on being hot. When you are playing good baseball, you can't settle for being 4 games over 500 over a 20-game stretch. You've got to win more than that to offset when you're playing bad and playing tough competition. You just got to do it. You've got to figure out ways to win when you're supposed to lose. You got to figure out ways to win even more when you're supposed to win.
Over under 51.5 games wins for the White Sox. I want to read you some of their team. On the infield side, they've got Nicky Lopez, Danny Mendick, Gavin Sheets, and Paul DeYoung. Outfielders, Benintendi, Dominic Fletcher, Robbie Grossman, Kevin PR.
When I was trolling Reds fans, and I've somewhat retired that.
Martin Maldonado's their catcher. Oh my God!
At some point, I did somewhat retire that, but I remember last year saying all the time, you know, everyone was pointing to the Reds. They were like, the Orioles were winning 100 games. Like we're a year off. We're like the Orioles of last year, and I always say you could be the White Sox.
White Sox are bad, man. I mean,
but they looked really good like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember what they had? Yohan Moncada, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease.
That one guy came from the clouds too. Yerman?
Yeah, well,
Mercedes came up. He excellent year or a half year, whatever it was.
No, he had an excellent April, and then they cut him. He got cut. He was bad for like 2 weeks, and cut ties.
I love that.
Listen, the Reds aren't that. I know I used to prod and poke and stuff like that. The Reds aren't that. Don't worry about that. You're not going to be the White Sox. You're not that inept. Because you're not going to hire Tony La Russa to be the manager of a bunch of 22-year-olds. Crazy. Crazy. Imagine Bill Belichick. No, actually, is Bill Parcells still alive?
Let's look.
Imagine hiring Bill Parcells to be your head coach of the Green Bay Packers, the youngest team in the league.
Yeah, he's alive. 82.
All right, imagine hiring Bill Parcells to be the head coach of the Packers next year. Crazy. What a bonkers move. I'm over it. All right, Trace will be back tomorrow. I got to run out to Miami. The Miami Red Hawks are going to take on the Xavier Musketeers on WatchCBox.com. You can have a membership. So
go Miami.
Yeah, go Red Hawks. Love and honor. See you guys tomorrow. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, see ya. Off the bench, sent by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse. Bye-bye.